Welcome to another stream. It is just me again today. We're gonna go off of that theme for a little while of just Rose. So, Andrew misses being on the stream with everyone, but schedules and things. So, here we are. So, it is Writing Wednesday, which means there will be some writing. Also, let me know if that music is too loud. We will be doing writing today, but something a little different from what Andrew and I have been working on every week, because that is our project that we're working on together. So to make sure that we're working on that at the same time, unless we establish separate writing times. I actually have my own personal novel writing project that I've referenced here occasionally. I have definitely done full streams where I kind of just yammer about it and about writing in general while I play a game. But today I thought it would be fun to try something a little different. And this is different from something I normally do, but it's definitely something I can do more regularly if you guys like it. So it's not so different because Andrew and I have done this a little bit already on stream, where we're actually writing the story live on stream. But what makes this different is that, we're talking it out, we're talking the story out, I'm picking his brain, and he's explaining how certain things would go in certain situations, because our stories are currently set on submarines, which is a working environment he's very familiar with. So we talk through what something would look like, and I talk through how that can look like, how we can translate that to a narrative, and so we're doing a lot of dialoguing and talking through. And it's just me verbally. So I will be talking through things, and I'll be showing you guys some things before I really buckle down and start writing, especially because the last time I talked about this novel on stream, I think was probably October, November, and it's March now. So it's been a few months since anyone has seen this novel. I've definitely done more on it since I last talked about it on stream. And I did set a goal to finish it this year. But I've had a hard time actually sitting down to write it, because the same year that I decided I was going to finish my novel, I also, upped my work hours and started streaming 3 times a week, and, also just existing, living my life. So this is going to be fun, getting back into my story, and I will definitely make this more of a thing if this is something you guys enjoy, or honestly, if I have fun with it, because I'm always up for an excuse to write and show people what I'm writing. So I talk about writing with my students all day long, and it's about their stories, as it should be. And so now I want to talk about mine. Oh man, my bit rate is rough today. I am so sorry, guys. Let me switch over. Okay. Well, this is fun. Okay. Yep. All right, that's fine. I haven't talked about too much in the past 20 minutes. Cool. Okay. All right. I'm going to backtrack just to the trigger warning. I don't think anything else was relevant, honestly. So I did add a trigger warning to the stream title. Okay. You guys are super behind me right now. Like I can see where I caught it. um, so yeah, no one heard that whole thing. Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. I forgot to unmute my mic when I switched over to this thing. Wait, did nobody hear? What about here? Did anyone hear me here when I was like this? Could you hear me when I was like big screen? Damn it. Oof. Yeah, the lag is super bad. Okay, this will be interesting. Damn it! Oh, I know why. Oh, okay. So you guys could hear me when it was like this, when I was big screen, because my Yeti mic was on. But now you couldn't hear me like this, but now you can. Okay, so we're all good. Everything is good. Everything is great. Everything is fine. I'm just gonna go back to the trigger warning and pretend everything's fine. So I have the trigger warning up because there are some really dark themes in this story, which it is a ghost story. So ghost stories in and of themselves tend to have pretty dark themes. The nature of the kind of story they are. This is not a scary ghost story though, so yay, I'm glad it's fixed now. This is not a scary ghost story. It is just sad and it's dark. And so there's some references, both kind of direct and indirect. Direct is too strong of a word, but indirect is not quite clear enough. To unaliving oneself. The circumstances behind why the ghost is a ghost are pretty sad and dark. It was funny. Another streamer that I follow, I was lurking in her stream off and on today between classes, and oh, okay. So it was there, but then it wasn't. Okay, yeah. So that makes sense. That works. Man, you guys are so behind me. Damn it. Okay. Try refreshing. If you are listening, please refresh. Hopefully that will. I'm gonna refresh myself. Okay, I think that's better. It's a little bit caught up. My things are a little more stable now, so I'm hoping. Okay. I'm trying so hard on this trigger warning. I really want to respect anyone who might come in here and not know what their thing, but I have it in my stream title. Just some dark themes, just some pretty sad stuff. It's not scary sad, but it is really sad, and it may not be for everyone to read this story, or to be part of my writing process. So that's all I'm here for. That's all I'm saying. I will not be offended if you come in and I'm talking and you're like, yeah, not today, not today. So this story is about a woman who is haunted by a ghost. Except haunted is kind of a strong word because he's just there. Like, she's not scared of him. She's never been scared of him. He's always been in her life pretty much since she can remember, since she was pretty young. Although we do get a flashback of the day that he showed up, so that's kind of fun. We have some occasional ghost flashbacks, so there's this one. She also has flashbacks, so this whole folder is a flashback. She has this is a ghost perspective. So it's a light changing perspective story, where you're primarily in my main character's
from her point of view, but we occasionally get the ghost just to he leaves some breadcrumbs. It's how you kind of start to form your understanding of why he's there, what his purpose is, and like kind of what's going on with him. So the big plot twist. Should I say spoiler alert? Should I read? Like, do you guys want to see an excerpt from the story to get kind of a feel for the story before I start writing? I am more than happy to do some reading, do some sharing time. I wouldn't read like this is like like 50 novel pages worth of writing. This is not, I would not share all of this, but I think big things to know are, which all of these are all different fonts, and Scrivener keeps changing my fonts and it's driving me bananas. So I'm gonna just click through these anyway. Where's my, oh, I don't have my favorite font in here. Where'd it go? It's not in here. It's alphabetically, it's not in here. And yes, that is the fun of being a writer, is you have a favorite font. That's probably actually why, because I think the font shows up on my other device, but not on this one. I hate choosing fonts. This is why I have a favorite font. I'm just going to go with this. We'll do Times New Roman all the way down and then just, okay. So I originally had her living in New York City, but as I tell my students, you need to either write what you know or be willing to sit down and take the time to learn a shit ton about the thing you don't know. I've never been to New York City, so I realized that was probably a dumb decision to have her in New York City. Not because I'm not willing to learn a shit ton about New York City, but I have a city very close to me that I am quite familiar with that I can very easily set this story in. And I can still do most of what I was planning on, like in the city scenes, with the city. So I live really close to Seattle. We're like an hour ferry ride away. And we're not there all the time anymore. We used to go a lot pre Panini, and then my the past few years they've been interesting for everyone, but we try to go there as much as we can because we do enjoy being in the city. So I'm familiar enough with Seattle that I can set a story in it, and it's very easy for me to go over to Seattle to do kind of like research and stuff. Um, so but I haven't changed the references to the city. Oop, that is the wrong font size. Are we really calling the pandemic Panini? I'm just being silly. I like, it's kind of a meme with like saying panorama or panini or just something other than pandemic. um so it's a weird little quirk. But hello, Missy, and welcome. Uh, okay, you guys can judge me all you want. It's fine. I am very happy and content with who I am as a human being. I'm just making all my fonts match because it's gonna bother the shit out of me if I don't. Although I do like the Sitka font. Nope, don't do it, Rose. Don't do it. Just stick with Times New Roman. Whatever presses your panini, I guess. I like it. Whatever floats your goat, and presses your panini. Hey, need those good girl marks. So she lives in Seattle. I have not updated the language in previous chapters to reflect that, but she lives in Seattle. Just throw that out there. And she's like, young, single, working professional. I so far have very intentionally kept her job vague. It's because it's not really relevant. Like, there are definitely, I have already written at least one scene that takes place at work for her. But she's a cubicle person. Like, she goes to work, she sits in a cubicle, she does her thing, she leaves. And she's pretty, like, she keeps to herself. She's kind of a hermit. She's not really interested in having a social life, friends, like really getting putting herself out there to make friends or go on dates or anything. She's happy and content with like, well, she thinks she's happy. She's pretty content to like just, go to work, go home, read a book and go to bed. Like she's good to go. Like at weekends, she might venture out, maybe go to a museum or something, but she just tends to stick to herself. She might go on a hike occasionally. But she's very much all about. She's not interested in forming really any true friendship. She has a couple of connections like outside of the city. She keeps in touch with her grandparents. That this will come into play later, but they did raise her. And so she keeps in touch with them. They have a decent relationship. Like, she goes to visit them on occasion and everything. And she also is still friends with her former college roommate, whose name is Margaret, because I just love the name Margaret. There's going to be probably some very like old fashioned names in the story, just because there's like, I love naming characters, and I get to name my characters whatever I want. Nobody gets to tell me otherwise. So it's fine. So the main character's name, actually, let me I will read you guys the first flashback, because something that's really important to me as I'm writing this story, I don't know why, but there's just something about her name that to me is very, very important. It took me a long time to come up with her name, and originally she actually wasn't going to have a name. That, everyone around her was going to have a name, and she was kind of just going to be nameless. And like there would be allusions to the fact that she had a name, like she'll introduce herself to people, or she'll hear her name being called, but I wasn't going to bring it out. And part of my purpose for that was something I really want for this story is for people to see themselves in my story. This is meant to it's meant to really get into your head, and how how do I don't know how to like put it into words, which is ironic because I'm a writer writing a novel. But it's meant to really just sit with you. There's a lot of important things that happen. It's really about this character learning about herself, working through her trauma, and discovering that the world is not as terrible and scary and hurtful as she thinks it is, and not in this like toxic positive, like, oh, those bad things happen to you, but they're not real, or they're not relevant, or they're so incredibly rare or something, because bad things do happen to us, and life does really kind of suck. But and there really are terrible, horrible things in this world, and so I want to confront that uncomfortableness, that like life sucks and the world could be a really, really dark place to live in. But that also doesn't take away from the fact that life can also be good and beautiful, and people and the world can be good and beautiful. And we can't shut ourselves out from all that we could have and could be, because the world hurts. But it's not as simple as like just getting up out of bed and being like, okay, the world hurt me yesterday, but I'm going to try it again today. It's not that simple, but it also is that simple. So I'm going to introduce you to this character in the same way that I want all of my readers to be introduced to her, which is through this story. I am going to skip the first chapter. It's relevant. I'll summarize it really quickly, and then I'll jump into the flashback chapter, read that to you guys, and then we'll kind of jump forward. I might work on some Theo chapters, because not gonna lie, I love my main character, like love her for many, many reasons. Once you guys learn her name, you will realize that Andrew refers to me as this character sometimes. So I love this character, but Theo, I think, is actually he might be my favorite side character that I've made for this story. And there's not a lot of side characters, so it's not hard to pick a favorite. But Theo is really, really important. He represents, so this story is very representative of a lot of things. For me as a writer, because we write what we know, and we write what we need. And so, well, you guys will see. So basically the summary of the first chapter is we are introduced to this character. We do not learn her name, but we learn that she has a ghost, and that it's a Friday night, and her typical Friday night is like walking home, maybe remembering to check her mail if she's lucky, and then like making the last scraps of food that are in the house for dinner, and then just finishing the book that she started at the beginning of the week and going to bed. But and the thing about the ghost that is really important that I have not mentioned, is that he doesn't talk. He doesn't talk to her. He's just always been there. But this Friday night is different because he talks. And he tells her to go buy lemons, and she's like, "Excuse me, sir. I just showered. I just got my pajamas. Like you couldn't have told me you needed to do some shopping, like 20 minutes ago, like maybe when we were still outside." But he convinces her, like, he just keeps saying buy lemons, which kind of convinces her, like, okay, I'm just gonna put my jeans back on, go out and satisfy the ghost by buying lemons. And she ends up, she tries to just go down to like the little market on the corner and be like, oh yeah, there's probably lemons there, right? And he very like forcefully tugs her and like sends her across the street to a Trader Joe's. And she ends up, like, she gets the lemons and she's like, cool, okay, I have the lemons, can I go pay for this now? And he takes her all the way through the store and makes her buy the ingredients for a dinner, for like an actual like healthy, wholesome dinner. And then he takes her home and he teaches her how to make it. And so the first chapter ends where, okay, so she makes the sauce, and makes the dinner. And so I'll read the end of the first chapter to kind of get you guys into the story. Then I'll read the first flashback, and then we'll do some writing. So, my ghost had never spoken to me. And also, guys, let me know if the music is too loud. It's suddenly very loud in my ears. So, just let me know. And we'll be here. Oh, well, you guys can't even hear it. Hang on. There we go. Okay, let me know if it's too loud. I don't want it to drown me out. I know I'm a pretty quiet person, so. Okay. So, okay, this is while she's making the dinner, excuse me. The first chapter ends while she's making the dinner. My ghost had never spoken to me, not once. All my life, as long as I could remember, he had been around. Growing up, he had watched over me as I played, walked to school, and when I slept at night. He had been present on the first and last days of school and every day in between. He hovered in the corner of my college dorm as I moved in and unpacked. He floated at my side as I was hired for my job and signed the contract for my apartment. He was always present, but he never intervened. He was nothing like any other ghost I read about, and I had read a lot about ghosts over my life. I thought of the books filled with ghost stories and lore sitting on my bookshelf. That genre dominated my shelf more so than any other genre. Even though he was like no other ghost that I had heard of, he was still my ghost. I liked him. If his presence had ever felt strange or scary to me, I did not remember that now. No, now his presence was a comfort. There had never been a day that he hadn't been there. It was strange how something that did nothing could be so comforting. Maybe now that he had spoken to me, I could get him to finally tell me why he had chosen me to haunt. Not that I thought of it as haunting, but by definition, that was what he did. I still remember the first time I talked to him. Now that I think of it, I think that was the first time he appeared. So, chapter 2. Whoop. I had been in my bedroom. It was not much to look at, but it was mine. Somewhere down the hall, I could hear the usual chaos that reigned over every late night in my house. The sounds of screaming, yelling, and fighting were normal, my bedtime story. Between the screams, I would often hear the sounds of flesh meeting flesh or the shattering of another object. the pieces of which I would have to pick my way through the next morning. I should probably be afraid. Sometimes I was, like tonight. There was something unusual in the air, something different about the way they were fighting. On this particular night, there was only screaming. I didn't hear any crashes or shattering as I wrapped myself in a blanket. Even though I was only 4, I knew better than to make an appearance during these parts of the day. I had learned my lesson about that. As the screaming continued, I shuddered, remembering the bright lights of the hospital, the pain in my wrist, and the quiet voice of my mom explaining how I had fallen off our porch. It was true, of course. It was, of course, the truth. Well, most of the truth, anyway. Mama said it did not matter how I fell off the porch, just that I did. The sound of a slap, heavy stomping, and the slam of a door brought my 4-year-old self back to the present. The hospital was in the past, my broken wrist just a memory now. The scar was barely visible now, the pain only a twinge when I held it wrong. But this, the yelling, the fights, the broken dishes, those were all still part of my present. The noise would die down soon enough. It always did. That was always predictable. Somewhere in the house there was a loud crash, a shout, and then silence. Feeling a chill run down my spine, I wrapped my blanket tighter around my tiny body. I was so tired. I waited in silence for several minutes, waiting for the screaming to start again. When it didn't, I touched my head to my knees in relief. I could finally sleep. I stood up, walking to the pile of clothes on my floor to pick out some pajamas. That was when I saw him. I did not scream. I did not cry. I did not make a single sound. I just stood there, my blanket hanging off my shoulders, my head tilted to look up at him. I had faced enough in my short life to know that reacting would not change what I assumed would happen next. No, reacting would only make it worse. Instead, I boldly made eye contact. If he was going to hurt me, he would have to look me in the eye. When our eyes met, I was startled by what I saw. His face, if you could call it a face, was afraid. He did not move. He did not speak. He did not do anything except just float where he was. I relaxed my stance a bit, but maintained eye contact. Maybe I should have been afraid of him. But I realized I was not. Somehow his scared face and haunting eyes told me that this creature was more frightened than I was. I had nothing to worry about or fear from his presence. He wasn't going to hurt me. I reached up to touch him, my hand passing through his shimmering form. "Hello," I whispered. "It's okay. I won't hurt you. Who are you?" Silence. "Why are you here?" Silence. "Why are you floating?" Silence. And so it went on. I asked him every question my 4-year-old brain could think of. He did not answer a single one. He just floated there, watching me intently. Finally, exhausted, I put on my pajamas and crawled into bed. As I settled in under the worn blankets, I noticed he had moved to be right next to my nightstand. I was still not afraid of him. Maybe I should have been, but his eyes were just so sad, so haunted. He had a stoic presence. He was a broad contrast from the rest of my life. Quiet was not something I was familiar with. Maybe that was why I was not afraid of him, even though he seemed to be afraid of me. His presence was quiet. He was quiet. Everyone else chattered, screamed, and shouted, but he did not. I was finally falling asleep. I fought sleep as long as I could, just so I could watch him. Finally, just before my worn-out mind succumbed to the darkness of sleep, I remembered one last question. What are you? Then suddenly, I was fast asleep. 2 words followed me through my dreams that night. My ghost. The next morning, I woke up cautiously. My first thought was of the chaos that waited me outside my tiny bedroom. My second thought, of my ghost. I sat up quickly. My ghost! I looked around my room frantically. He wasn't there! I felt a chill run down my spine. Instinctively, I looked to the far end of my bedroom, and there he was, waiting in the corner. His eyes were less scared this morning. They even looked kind. He still floated, watching me with the same intensity with which he had watched me last night. What I guessed were his feet were not touching the ground. His eyes followed my movements as I climbed out of bed and tiptoed towards him, dragging my blanket behind me. "Hi," I greeted him. "Are you a ghost?" Silence. I remembered the words that had appeared in all my dreams the night before. I think you are a ghost. Are you my ghost? Silence. The question did not feel wrong. Somehow I just knew that the answer was yes. I could not explain how I knew, but I did. The mysterious presence in my room was definitely a ghost, and he was definitely mine. I wondered if he would stay in my bedroom or if he would follow me around. There was only one way to find out. Wrapping myself up in a blanket, I tiptoed to my bedroom door. Carefully, I turned the knob and opened the door just enough for my tiny head to peek through. A few feet away, a couple of bottles lay on the floor just outside a closed door. They were the only indication that something had happened here last night. The silence was eerie, but I was not bothered by it. I had my ghost. His presence seemed to make this morning different from all the other mornings. Even still, I knew better than to make any noise. Quietly, I slipped out of my room and tiptoed down the hall towards the kitchen. Once there, I surveyed my options. The refrigerator held food, but all of it was too big or too heavy for my tiny hands. I remembered that there might be a box of cereal in the pantry. I opened the pantry to investigate. There, just out of reach, was a box of my favorite cereal. I knew the cereal was kept out of my reach on purpose, but I was so hungry. There had been no dinner last night. Suddenly, I got an idea. Running over to the dining room, I grabbed a rickety chair from a small table and dragged it into the pantry. There was just enough room in the pantry for me to scoot the chair in and hoist myself up onto it. The chair creaked as I scrambled up to stand on the seat. I stretched my small arms up as high as I could. My fingers just barely brushed the box. I stood there, looking up at the box, contemplating my next move. Maybe I could jump for the box. I bent my knees slightly, pushed up off the chair, reached out my hand, and snatched the cereal from the shelf. Gotcha! I whisper yelled, pulling my prize to my chest. But my glee turned quickly to fear as my feet met the chair once again. As the full weight of my slight body made its impact, the chair, weakened from age and misuse, collapsed. The next few seconds moved in slow motion. I heard myself scream and began to panic. I was about to be in huge trouble. Out of my room early, getting into the pantry, breaking a chair, using my outside voice while Daddy was still asleep, and now I was about to be hurt. I had been too careless. I squeezed my eyes shut and braced my tiny body for the inevitable impact with the hard linoleum that was the kitchen floor. I was surprised to discover that the impact never came. I had stopped falling, but I wasn't hurt and I wasn't on the kitchen floor. Slowly, I opened each of my eyes and looked around. I was floating. I looked up and found myself face to face with my ghost. His face was a mixture of surprise and fright as he gently set me on the ground. I hadn't even known that he had followed me into the kitchen. I clutched my cereal box tightly to my chest, gazing in awe at my ghost. He had just saved my life. My glee was quickly interrupted as my mind whipped back to the reality of the moment. In my elation, I almost forgot about all the noise I had just made. Mama could sleep through almost anything, but she always came running when I screamed. And Daddy? Well, Daddy hated noise in the morning. Any sound louder than a door closing gently could wake him up. Why hadn't he come running? Why hadn't Mama come running? Okay, gonna break the spell for just a moment to say the next two sections do have a pretty big trigger warning. So again, if you are sensitive to anything about moving on from this plane of existence, please don't stay on account of me. I want you to be safe and to be okay. So, okay. I looked up at my ghost, fear and confusion rushing into my brain. I was still clutching the cereal box. I had broken a chair. I had screamed. Using your outside voice was against the rules, especially in the morning. I should be in trouble right now. But nobody had come. Was this another way the ghost was protecting me? Did he stop the sounds of my recklessness from reaching my sleeping parents' ears? He must have. That must be why my parents hadn't come running. He had been able to catch me. Who knew what other powers he had? Satisfied with this explanation, I thrust a grubby hand into the box of cereal and shoved a fistful of the sweet flakes into my mouth. As I chewed, I wondered what else my ghost could do. I decided it was okay that he didn't talk so long as he kept helping me. Still shoving fistfuls of cereal into my mouth, I wandered towards the living room. Maybe I could watch some cartoons. As I shuffled down the hall, looking back to see if my ghost was following me, I got a weird feeling in my tummy. The house felt strangely quiet. Wasn't Mama normally awake by now? What day was it? Something about this morning felt different. I didn't like it. As I stepped into the living room, something cracked and I felt a sharp pain in my foot. I froze, one hand hovering just inside the cereal box. I squeezed my eyes shut and bit back a scream. My foot hurt so much. What had I stepped on? Where was Mama? I felt a chill run down my spine. Suddenly, my ghost was right in front of me. His face close to my face. His eyes were wide with terror. Everything in me was screaming at me to turn around, run away, go hide in my room. But I couldn't move. I couldn't speak. Something felt very, very wrong. I didn't know what to do. I had only known my ghost since last night, but he had gone from a peaceful, comforting presence to something terrifying. He did not want me to go into the living room. He was doing everything he could to keep me from the living room. But why? I suddenly remembered my foot. I had already been hurt. What else could go wrong? As it turned out, a lot. I do not remember very much about what happened next. Most of it was told to me, pieced together from the scene where a neighbor found me. I guess my second scream so soon after my first was enough to prompt her to investigate. I remember walking further into the living room, blood trailing from my foot behind me. I learned later that I had stepped on glass from a broken picture frame. In his drug-induced haze, my father had tripped on a stray toy and fallen backwards. His arms had likely flailed, knocking all the pictures off the shelf. He hit his head hard on the ground. Beneath the carpet of our run-down home was cold, hard concrete. According to the autopsy, between the impact of his head on the ground and the cocktail of drugs in his system, my dad's body hadn't stood a chance. His life left him as he let out one last shout. The shout that only I heard, but ignored. Everyone told me it wasn't my fault. He was gone before anyone could have helped him. So why did it still feel like my fault? As for my mom, she was found curled up in bed, her body as still and lifeless as my dad's. That was why she hadn't come running when I broke the chair, and why I hadn't heard her get up. She would never get up again, never rushed to shush me when I played too loudly or cried too hard when Daddy was sleeping. Our life together, mostly spent protecting each other, ended when she breathed her last breath. Even the best medical examiner could not work out how my mom died. There was no specific cause. Her body had just stopped. The next few days were a blur. My grandparents, my dad's parents, came for me. It was our first time meeting that I could remember. They said they met me as a baby. I didn't remember that, of course. I was given one suitcase in which to pack my entire life. With my grandma's help, I found all my clothing that didn't have holes or stains and stuffed it into my suitcase. There was still a lot of room, so she told me to pick out a few of my favorite things to take with me. I wandered around my room, picking up my worn-out baby blanket. Grandma smiled and said she made it for me. My favorite stuffed animal, a worn-out stuffed elephant, and a few books that Mama always read to me at night. I tried to bring a VHS of my favorite movie, but Grandma stopped me. There were lots of movies at her house, maybe even that exact movie. I didn't need to bring that one. Reluctantly, I put it back on the shelf. Daddy loved that movie. But I guess it didn't matter now. Daddy was gone. We wouldn't watch it together again on one of his good days. We would never watch another movie together again. I walked out this door, reluctantly holding my grandma's hand. My grandpa followed, carrying my suitcase. As the door to my first home closed shut, I looked back at it one last time. A chill ran down my spine. I turned away from my home, tears streaming down my face, and found myself looking into the face of my ghost. I hadn't seen him since I had found Daddy's body. I glared at him as if to say, "Where have you been? I thought you were my ghost." He just looked at me sadly, still not speaking. Something had kept him from me. As he followed my grandparents and I to the car and to my new life with them, I hoped nothing would keep him from me ever again. Darkness consumed me. The final sound of my voice was frozen in the air. My ears rang in the silence that was not silent. I tried to scream, but I could not. I tried reaching out, but my arms would not move. I tried turning my head, but my neck had forgotten how to rotate. I was frozen, suspended in midair. Thoughts raced through my mind. Where was I? What was happening to me? How had I gotten here? Why couldn't I see? Suddenly, a flash of light pierced the darkness. My body flew upwards. My arms and legs dangled helplessly behind me as my back arched my belly up towards whatever was pulling me. With a jerk, I slammed into something and stopped. My body was jerked, again, this time being flipped like a half-done pancake in a sizzling frying pan. I squeezed my eyes shut. They opened. I tried closing them again. They opened. I could not keep them closed. Something would not let me. The light had gone from a complete darkness to the bright flash of light, to the dim lighting of the inside of a home at sunset. That's where I was. I was plastered to the ceiling of a rundown home at sunset, staring down at what looked to be a living room. As my eyes adjusted, I discovered it was my living room. At least it looked like my living room. The threadbare couch looked the same. The coffee table held the empty bottles that I accumulated quickly in one short evening. A lighter, spoon, and a smattering of white dust sat in the center of the coffee table. My body lay in a sea of shattered glass and broken picture frames. Wait, my body? No, it can't be. What was happening? Before I could process what I was looking at, my body jerked again. I flew like a rag doll through the air, towards the wall. I braced myself for impact, but it never came. Darkness fell upon me, again. When I could see again, I was in another room. This time, I was upright. I breathed a sigh of relief, but my peace did not last long. My feet were not touching the ground. Did I even still have feet? My heart, did I still have a heart? Raced. I reached my hands to clutch my chest, but I did not have hands. I did not have a chest. I just was. As my panic reached its peak, I realized I was not alone. There was a little girl standing just a few feet away from me now. She looked so familiar. Her head was tilted to one side, a blanket hanging off her shoulders. She looked so small, so innocent. I was terrified of her. As she looked at me straight in the eye, I felt myself choke. What was I supposed to do? What was I supposed to say? I was a strange man in her bedroom. Nothing about this moment would work in my favor. Some outside force threw me through walls and left me here was not a good explanation for why I, a grown man, was in a small child's bedroom. Hello, the little girl whispered. It's okay. I won't hurt you. Who are you? I opened my mouth. Did I still have a mouth? To answer, but no words came out. The little girl spoke again. Why are you here? I tried again to speak, but to no avail. My vocal cords, did I still have vocal cords, seemed to be locked up. Why are you floating? Floating? I was floating? Questions poured out of the little girl's mouth, one right after the other. I couldn't answer a single one. I had lost all ability to speak or vocalize. Even if I could speak, I wouldn't know how to answer her questions. I didn't know who I was. Had that really been my body before? Why I was here? Where was I anyway? Or why I was floating? Was I really floating? Nothing made sense. What was going on? Who was this little girl? Why was I here? I suddenly realized the little girl had stopped talking. She was crouched over a pile of clothes I seemed to be floating over, rubbing her eyes. I watched as she picked out pajamas, put them on, and crawled into bed. I blinked and realized I was now by her nightstand, watching over her. She asked me one last question as she drifted off to sleep. What are you? Time seemed to freeze again. The sound of her final word hung in the air. Another flash of light hit me. Someone else was in the room with us. A formless thing, maybe another person? I tried to move again, but still couldn't. But I quickly found out that I could speak. Who are you? Now I was the one to wait as the silent creature did not respond. I tried again. What is going on? The silence continued. When I went to speak again, the creature finally spoke. This is your fate. As to who I am, that does not matter. I am just a messenger. I trembled, if you could call it trembling. A messenger? Why would I need a messenger? You need a messenger because you have been given a second chance. In life, you destroyed. In death, you will restore. Look at the girl. I looked down at the little girl in the bed, unmoving. Time had stopped for her. If you do not know her now, the creature continued speaking, you soon will. You will watch over her, protect her. You are her ghost, but you won't be able to speak to her. My mind raced. Watch over this little girl? Protect her? Be her ghost? Ghost? I was a ghost? Things started falling into place in my mind. Wondering if I still had feet, a body, vocal cords. It all made sense now. I had none of those things anymore. Any humanness I once had, I now lacked. I was formless. I was translucent. I was a ghost. But wait, I couldn't speak to her? The moment she needs you most, your voice will be unmuzzled. Until then, you watch over her in silence. Before I could ask any more questions, the creature disappeared, taking the flash of light with it. Time began moving again. The little girl snuggled deeper into her pillows, her eyelids slowly closing over her tired eyes. Before sleep fully consumed her, I heard her whisper two final words. My ghost. Her ghost. I was her ghost. With all the powers I could muster, I directed my thoughts towards the little girl. Your ghost. I'm your ghost. I hoped these words would drift through her dreams and bring her comfort. She seemed so fragile, so wounded. A girl this small should not hold so much pain. What had happened to her? As I watched over her, my eyes drifted across her bed and around her room. Slowly, the pieces of the room fell together in my mind. The wall, painted with climbing vines, reminded me of vines I had once painted on a wall. The stuffed elephant cast to one side had once been on the shelf of the gift shop where I'd bought it on the best day of my life. The blanket she had wrapped around herself had once been wrapped around a much smaller, much more brand new little girl. No, it couldn't be. I looked at the little girl, around the room, and back at the little girl again. A scream climbed up my throat that was no longer a throat. This was my worst nightmare. That little girl, my little girl. I opened my mouth that was no longer a mouth and screamed a scream that was no longer a scream. If any sound came from my lungs that were no longer lungs, I could not hear it, and neither could she. What was going on? What had I done? This was my little girl. I was her ghost. I was gone. I was dead. My life and its regrets came flooding back to me. The scene I had awoken to flashed before my eyes as fresh as the moment I had first opened my eyes in this new state. Too many empty beer bottles on the table. Mine. A burned spoon, a lighter, and remnants of white powder. Mine. The body on the ground, surrounded by shards of glass and broken picture frames. Mine. The little girl in front of me, sleeping peacefully in her bed, ignorant of what awaited her just outside her bedroom door. All mine. No, no, give me another chance, a voice resounded in my head. This is your second chance. I screamed another scream that was not a scream. Not like this. It can't be like this. Bring me back to life. The voice again. What has been done cannot be undone. Take this second chance or come with me. I shook my head that was no longer a head. No, I had to take this second chance. I had to make this right. As the little girl slept peacefully, the words I had breathed into her mind drifting through her dreams, I wept tears that were no longer tears. What had I done? My girl, my little girl, my Colette. So that's Colette. That's her ghost. Sharing this scene, this chapter always makes me emotional, because it's obviously the where we see it all. Why is there no heart stabbing emoji? Because the world is a cruel place, and yeah, there's not even a sad emoji in my emotes. So there's that. I should tell my my emote designer we need a sad emote. Yeah. So this is Colette, and I hope you guys like her. I'm gonna cry. um, and this is her story, and this is her ghost, and this is his story. It's about both of them. Um, when I did not show you, obviously, this chapter, when she is at Trader Joe's, she meets a very nice cashier. Um, he's very nice, very helpful, um, chatty, like most Trader Joe's cashiers. There's a reason I picked Trader Joe's. um, but let's meet Theo again. Um, so this one actually, this scene takes place. No, it does take place later. So there's some back and forth. I'm definitely missing some. There's some gaps I'm gonna have to fill in here. But the basic trajectory is kind of. I have my idea is we have the first weekend that he talks that the ghost talks, and then from there we kind of move into some time skips or things. So we take her through the weekend. She goes to bed. And there's some different things that happen in here that I'll leave for you guys to discover when I this finally happens. Um, so she basically like she wakes up the next morning and he's got a list for her and he's like we're gonna get some ish done. He's like I can talk to you now, so I'm gonna figure these things out. And so it was important to me that we knew pretty much right away that the reader knew very quickly that he was her dad, so that they could understand a little bit of what he's doing in the story when we're only looking at Colette's perspective. Um, because when you know he's her dad, this is like instant, overbearing, overloving dad who's like, I know that the world is scary, but you have to get out. You got to go to the grocery store. Like, stop paying for the damn app for Instacart when there's a grocery store right across the street. Like, come on, come on. We're gonna go to the grocery store. You're gonna start like buying more than just like a pack of chicken and some minute rice every week for groceries. Like we're gonna make you healthy. We're gonna like you're gonna leave your apartment sometimes. He's like ready and ready to go, and she's like, but the world is scary. Um, and it's even harder for her because there's so many things about her life that are already changing that she can't stop. And now the thing that is changing very rapidly now also wants her to make more changes, and so she's like dealing with all of that. But she gets into kind of this groove where she's going to Trader Joe's sometimes. Um, and so, and she kind of becomes a regular. She really likes this cashier, like just because not in like she has a secret crush on the cashier, but kind of in like she appreciates his vibe kind of way. Like he's nice. She feels comfortable around him. He's not too nosy. He doesn't pry. He asks how her day was and she's like great, and then they move on. But then at some point something is going to change there. Because this cashier is Theo, who is my favorite. I love Theo very much. He is like there's so and I think part of the reason why I love him so much is he was originally supposed to be like this one-off character that you see like once or twice. She's like, oh, there's that nice Trader Joe's cashier, and then moving on. Um, and then I wrote this scene with him where they have this one exchange, and I was like, damn it, Theo, damn it. Or, well, I didn't, he didn't have a name. So I was like, damn it, Trader Joe's cashier. You're too endearing. You gotta come back. You're gonna become a character. But then I was like, how are they supposed to take this like friendship, beyond like she goes to his line at Trader Joe's. So Colette has this cafe that she goes to. She goes every single day, like every weekday and at least once on the weekends. Usually both weekend days as well, but like not always. Um, and she always has the same order, and that's like a whole thing. That's a whole scene. And it turns out Trader Joe's cashier is also frequents this this cafe because he's a student. Um, and he's I haven't decided if he's a master's or a PhD student, but the point is he's beyond his bachelor's here, because I wanted to make them around the same age. And Colette is relatively young. She's like mid 20s kind of. And her age might change. I might shift her more to late 20s or like even early 30s. I haven't super decided yet. Um, but I wanted to make it, I didn't want any more than like 20-ish years to go by between when he first appears and when things start to change. Um, Not for any specific reason other than like that just felt like a good number and I'm stuck there now. Um, and so if I adjust her age too much, I also have to adjust her young, like her when the ghost first appeared age. So and I don't want to make her much older than 4, because that's kind of the beginning of your really formative memories. But there are certain things like if she's taken from this home where there's like a lot of conflict and things at a very young age, she's not going to remember as much. So she's not going to understand as much why um, she has certain like her frontal like her immediate brain is not going to remember as much, but her body is going to remember and her subconscious is going to remember. And so I want this kind of odd balance of like she knows some pretty terrible stuff happened to her as a kid, and even like going to her grandparents is not all rainbows and butterflies and perfect things. Like her grandparents are very nice people, but they're mourning their son and also trying to raise his daughter, and it's a lot for them, and it so. And they definitely try. Like there's the grandparents they're not gonna come out like both like grandparents of the year kind of award kind of thing, but they're not gonna like my goal is not for my readers to dislike them. My goal is for my readers to understand them. To say like a grieving older couple should not have to also raise their like a grieving older couple who is not dealing with their own shit now has to raise their granddaughter who is also they're trying to put her like they put her through therapy, send her to child psychologists, but nothing really works, and so it's just a very difficult situation all around for these grandparents who are having a hard time seeing through their grief, who have some pretty old fashioned ideas of like child rearing, and not being sure what to do with this particular young child, and then this child here who is extremely traumatized. She's you guys will see, as you get to know Colette a little better, you'll see she has very, very clear signs of PTSD. And there's not, especially specifically complex PTSD. This is actually something that I want to use this story to bring more awareness about, both for people who know people who have been through some shit, but also for people who have it to actually see themselves and to know that it's okay to admit that you were traumatized, even if there's not like a specific moment, because complex PTSD is when you're kind of just in this constant state of like not being not greatness. I'm not explaining this well. Let me get like an actual like um so regular run of the mill PTSD is like when you have like everything is fine and then you have a big traumatic moment and then everything is not fine. So like think about like anyone who goes to war who is maybe involved in a bombing or something like that. And complex PTSD is when like nothing was ever okay, and you kind of you were constantly in a state of stress, instead of just like moment of overwhelming stress. So there's a lot of like very complex so your traumatic event didn't have a start and end point, and it was just ongoing, um and even when it's ended, Like you still deal with the repercussions of that. And it actually we're not going to compare PTSD and complex PTSD because despite their very similar names, it's comparing apples to oranges because they come from very different experiences. But complex PTSD is extremely difficult to recover from, and it's kind of a lifelong battle, just like with PTSD, honestly. But there's some additional symptoms that come with that you guys will see coming out in this character. So that is something that you actually cannot be officially diagnosed with it because it's not in the DSM right now. But you can. It's they did a the diagnosis is like a basically you used a lot of words to say CPTSD. So that is what something that I have, so something I'm very familiar with in my own experience. Therapy is great and awesome. Which was what the funny thing is, I started writing this story before I got that diagnosis. So you write what you know. So anyway, so in this you're going to see that a lot coming up. Certain things that she's going to do or say, or how she's going to react to certain things. Sometimes it's going to feel like overreacting, but it is because of what's going on in her brain between the trauma and the anxiety and just like everything that she is dealing with. We're just going to see that coming out here. So he, going back to this, this Trader Joe's cashier goes from this casual acquaintance to, oh, I've seen you at my favorite coffee shop. Like, if you ever, I know it's hard to get a table there. If you ever want to, like, if you ever see me there, you're always welcome to join me at my table. And she's like, yeah, okay, sure, totally will join you. And she's like, no, no. So she introduces herself, Colette. He introduces himself. His name is Theodore, but his friends call him Theo. And he's one of those characters that I want everyone to see as so just not perfect. Like, Theo's gonna have his flaws. He is not going to be perfect. We are not having any Mary Sue's, or I don't know what the male equivalent of a Mary Sue would be, but you know, we're not going to have any perfect characters. Oh, yes. Okay. I am hydrating. Thank you. Thank you, Missy. We're not going to have any perfect characters with zero flaws who can do magical things. He is just going to be a human, a wholesome human who is just genuinely good. Gary Stu, I like it. Overacting due to trauma is hard to both talk yourself down from into combat with reason from any source. Yes. Yeah. And that's something, there's like some scenes that I've already written where she just like kind of loses it in a moment where it's like, it's not that big. It's not that big of a deal, but it is that big of a deal for her. And like, is everything, when you're already up to here, like anything else is just going to flood over and feel really terrible. I'm looking for Gary Stu. So we got Mary Sue's and Gary Stu's. Cool. Misogyny does not win. So yeah, so he's not gonna be a Gary Stu. He's gonna be Theo with all of his flaws, and he's going to be. I hope that he is as wholesome and cozy of a character to my readers as he is for me. He's just a good human. And we love him. We love Theo here. So there will be no Theo bashing in my stream. Go to another stream, talk about my character named Theo. So then we kind of have a scene here where she is on her way to work. It's a Monday morning, and she sees Theo there. And something happens. Let me actually look through this. She's standing there in line, and there's a lot more people there than usual, and Theo sees her, and he's like, hey, how's it going? What's up? Invites her over to his table. And it, like, with all of the, just everything going on, she's just feeling completely overwhelmed. And she kind of almost passes out. Just not that, but just she's so disoriented. She doesn't, like, she kind of starts to disassociate. And he's like, yeah, you go sit down, and I'm gonna just get you your coffee. And we have a second time where we see this barista who, damn her if she's gonna potentially become another regular character. We'll see. Um, I don't want it to be that it's just like I don't know. We'll see about her. I like this barista. She's very very sweet. Colette has a moment back here on Saturday where she remembers Colette's name in her coffee order, because she eats the same thing every day. Because we like repetition. um, and so she brings over her. It's like overwhelming for Colette. She's like, oh my god, this woman knows me, and it never occurred to her that someone would want to remember her. And so, she brings it over, and then she leaves for work. Um, and we have the like, this boy's too social for me. Leave him alone. Leave me alone. And then she's like, I'm not here to make friends. I have myself. I have my ghost. I don't need anyone. And then the most recent thing that I have written is this getting to work scene, which is actually really funny. You know what? I'm totally gonna read it. Let me hydrate for a minute. Um, so she's getting to work. And this is actually really funny for me. I do not gain pleasure from torturing my characters, but Colette's gonna get pushed outside her box a little bit, which is the whole point of this story. So growth, friends, growth. Okay, so she's running late for work, because of the whole thing in the coffee shop. Okay. And this will actually help me anyway. I like to always read the last thing that I wrote, because that will help me kind of get moving on the next thing to write. So, okay, here we go. The warmth of my office. Oh, but every author gets pleasure from helping our little peoples grow. Yes, I'm gonna push you, but it's gonna be good. You're gonna grow, and you're gonna love it. You're gonna thank me later. Yeah, it's not torture. Exactly. Uh, the warmth of my office building swept over me as I stepped inside. It had just started to drizzle outside. I knew I'd be thankful for my umbrella later tonight. I glanced at my watch. 8:30 exactly. I wasn't at my desk on time, but at least I was in the building. At least I was in the building. I held up my badge as I walked by the receptionist. She nodded and waved me on, barely looking at me or my badge. So much for security. The company I worked for didn't have much to worry about, though. We're too generic to be noticed, which is definitely a tongue-in-cheek reference to the fact that we're not going to know what her job is. Like, she's just a generic cubicle lemming. Um, I didn't have to wait long for the elevator. It slid open almost as soon as I pressed the button. Grateful that it was empty, I stepped smoothly inside and pressed the button for my floor. Wait! Hold the door open! A frantic voice shouted at me. I glanced up to see the woman from the cubicle next to mine rushing towards me. Her hair was askew, as usual, and she looked stressed. She was simultaneously trying to cram an umbrella into its case and hold out her badge for the secretary. Without knowing what I was doing, I reached out and pressed the door open button for the elevator. The woman tumbled into the elevator, dropping both her badge and umbrella case. I smiled politely and stepped back, giving her room to collect herself. My ghost tensed beside me. 2 people and a ghost on an elevator wasn't a lot, but this woman seemed to expand to fill all of the available space. She wasn't a large woman by any means, but she was a flurry of hair, of umbrella, of papers, and of raindrops. I silently pressed the button for our floor as she caught her breath. Oh, she started and stopped in surprise, staring at the number on the lit up elevator button. Yeah, that's my floor. How did you know? I wasn't sure what to say. If she didn't recognize me, I didn't really have a good explanation for why I knew her floor. I didn't want to seem like a stalker. I was the opposite of a stalker. I wanted to be left alone as much as possible. As I fumbled around in my mind for an inkling of what to say, the woman turned to face me. Her eyes lit up with recognition and then widened in embarrassment as she realized what she'd done. Oh my goodness, she stuttered. I'm so sorry. I wasn't really paying attention to who was in the elevator. I didn't realize it was you. Colleen, right? Colette. Oh, right, Colette. Sorry. She hesitated, still trying to find a way to move past her blunder. I subtly glanced up at the digital numbers that were counting as the elevator moved towards our floor. Only a few more floors to go. Then an awkward walk to our cubicles, and we would go back to never speaking. Crazy that storm blew in, right? Her voice brightened as if she had discovered something incredible. I didn't know what to do with myself. I'm just glad I had my umbrella with me, and that you held the elevator door open. I don't need to be any later than I already am today. I gave her a small smile and nodded awkwardly. Yeah, I replied. I searched for a way to reassure her without creating more conversation. It is a good thing. I had only just stepped in myself. It wasn't a big deal. My attempts at closing the conversation were futile. You don't understand, though. It is a big deal, the woman continued chattering. I was late every day. Last week. It's Monday. I was late every day last week. The boss wasn't too happy about it. At least today I'm close enough to on time. Walked into the building at 8:32 exactly, only 2 minutes late. Of course, you know we're supposed to be at our desks at 8:30. You're always at yours when I come in. Her voice faded into the distance as I found myself tuning her out. I wasn't surprised she hadn't recognized me. This was the most we'd spoken to each other since I had been hired almost 3 years ago. But this moment in the elevator had broken our silence. Maybe it wasn't permanently broken. Maybe this was just one small blip on the radar and we could go back to being silent coworkers. I didn't care that she hadn't recognized me. It didn't matter that she had messed up my name. All of these things contributed to my anonymity. I didn't need to know anyone, and no one needed to know me. The elevator dinged as it came to a stop. The doors slid open, and the woman stepped out. I glanced around for a moment and located my ghost before following the woman out of the elevator. We walked towards our cubicles, me following at a short distance. When she reached her cubicle, the woman turned and smiled at me. Thanks again, Colette. Her voice was warm and kind. I really didn't need to get in trouble again today. Anyway, it looks like the boss man is late too. She pointed beyond my cubicle, and I followed the direction of her finger. Sure enough, our boss's office was empty and the lights were out. We had both been lucky. It was no trouble, I replied with another small smile. I was anxious to get started on my workday. Glad to help. I gave her a small wave and slipped into my cubicle. Once inside my 3.5 walls of solitude, I settled into my chair and breathed a sigh of relief. I finished the last sips of my coffee, tossed the paper cup into the small wastebasket, and began to unpack my satchel. I pulled out my laptop, planner, journal, and book of the week and lined them up neatly on my desk. Once my satchel was stowed by my feet, I reached over and turned on my computer. As my computer went through its startup cycle, I sat back and let my mind go silent for a few moments. These first few moments at work each morning were sacred. They were when I shifted from my relaxed state of being to work mode. Just like I had to turn on my computer, I needed to turn on a different part of my brain when I was at work. I hadn't gotten much out of the many hours of my childhood that had been spent on a soft couch in a quiet office talking to a string of well-intentioned but ultimately unhelpful therapists. But one therapist I had never forgotten. She seemed to understand that there was no changing me, but not in a frustrated way. She was the only one who stepped back from my care that didn't make me feel like she was giving up. She just knew I wasn't interested in what she had to offer. I had what I needed, whatever that was. That particular therapist had taught me the value of a few moments inside your own mind to prepare yourself for the day ahead. Before resigning from being my therapist, she had taught me how to take a few breaths and shift into the mindset I needed for my day. It had been 10 years since our last appointment, but I still used what she had taught me. It was a shame I didn't need fixing. She seemed like someone who was good at fixing people. Hey there! I was suddenly yanked from my relaxed state and back into reality. Startled, I jumped and nearly fell out of my chair. I gripped the armrests to keep myself in my seat and jerked my head in the direction of the voice. I sat back when I saw the owner, my cubicle neighbor. Oops, didn't mean to scare you. She put a hand to her face apologetically. I just wanted to see if you wanted any coffee. I'm headed to the break room. Oh, I stammered. No thank you. I had some coffee on the way in. I paused and she looked at me as if waiting for me to say anything else. Thank you, though? I finished. She smiled and shrugged. No problem. Just thought I'd check. She gave me a cheerful wave and disappeared. As soon as she was gone, I put my head on my desk. I guess the momentary break in our silence wasn't exactly momentary. this was going to be a long day. So that's where we're at. So, this is actually, so I realize that this looks like we're going straight from here's the weekend to Monday morning, which we are. I think the thing that's this one, I need to make a new folder here. Oh, I don't know if you guys can hear the cat. Oop. There we go. Nope. I want it to go out more. Kill it. Okay. Add new folder. There we go. Chaotic Monday. This is how we do it. Okay. Okay. So I think so these two scenes go together. Because so what I'm trying to avoid is having like 5 million things meet her, like change for her all at once. So there's some passage of time between this Sunday morning, this scene with Theo where he's like, hey, we go to the same coffee shop, and then this Monday morning, this scene, which is probably going to be another Friday evening. Just gonna make it either like a Friday evening or maybe a Saturday afternoon thing. I'm gonna go with Saturday afternoon here for him because I think I had him okay, I think I did a time skip here where she Oh, what program do I write in? I use Scrivener. I'll actually, here. It's really nice because I have all these folders and I can write, make a new document for each different scene. And so it allows me to like click through, everything. And I can go back and forth. I can rearrange things. So like all of this is like the first weekend, takes place in the first weekend, which like, let me visualize that for myself. So I can, I don't know. No, I'm going to leave it. Sorry. Move to trash. Okay. So all of this first weekend, and then so Sunday, so Saturday night, I might go back to this weekend then. And her going back to work. So yeah, but I really love it. I definitely, and then you have like planning in here. You can do characters. So I've got Colette, just some like stuff about just things that I've decided about her, what she looks like, her personality, background, the dad, little things, just like whenever I can think of it. He not New York University because they do not live in New York City anymore. I gotta change that. University of Washington. So his kind of job draws her into the world. Margaret, maybe she can live in New York. Then I have like, this is kind of the main conflict of the story, although, so I have changed some things that I've written here about her. Like, okay, well, she mostly prefers. She's mostly happy. She's mostly happy like on her own. But There are times where she's like, kind of be nice to have some friends, but how do that? Oh well. And then like the way that I want the story to end. Oh, I have changed that. I am going to change this and give no explanation. So, just one more breath. Okay. Um. Okay. And so I've got little things. I might do some planning here actually. This is why I haven't written out in a while. I'm feeling a little stuck. Um, which is unfortunate because I have like a lot of things that I know I want to do, but it's like I gotta bridge that gap here. Okay, so the thing on Sunday, this empty scene is a little bit of what I is probably holding me back a little bit because I'm like, I gotta put something there. This is a flashback for Colette, and it's the explanation for why she doesn't go to grocery stores. Um, so we've got the ghost disappears at one point, and he comes back. Whoop. Um, it's late in the evening. She decides not to clean her kitchen. She falls asleep um, without taking her medication, which kind of prevents her from having her nightmares that she has very frequently. And this is a nightmare. Basically, this flashback is a nightmare. So then she wakes up Sunday morning. Okay. Let's see. It's a story memory from before or after moving with her grandparents. That's part of the trouble. Is there's a few. So I think it's from. So I'm pretty sure it's going to be her first time grocery shopping for herself. Um, Potentially for this apartment. Uh, but I feel like it's going to be longer than just 3 years that she hasn't gone to the grocery store. So I'm maybe thinking like maybe when she was a freshman in college or something, like it's going to be a significant moment for her where it's like, this is my first time grocery shopping on my own. And that time is going to um, I was debating between one of two things that either like it just is so overwhelming, like it's a particularly busy time. She's never been to the grocery store alone before. She realizes like she doesn't really know where things are. Um and she's kind of like yeah, she doesn't really know where things are. She gets overwhelmed, she has a panic attack and she runs out. But the other option for that is she sees a family of three, like a mom and a dad and a little girl, about the age that she was when her parents died. And the dad the dad reminds her of her dad in some way. Like he's really broody. He seems to be struggling somehow mentally, and he's kind of taking it out on his wife and kid. And they're like, so he and his wife are bickering, and the little girl looks really worried, and then she maybe drops something and it spills, and he starts yelling at her, and that triggers her, and she leaves. But there's something that happens that's triggering that she's like, I can't do grocery stores. But it's enough that she kind of blocks it out. She has an aversion to grocery stores. She's not really sure why, doesn't really remember until she goes to sleep without her medicine one night and she has the flashback. Um, but the significant thing here that because I want to make it connect, which again, I know all things can be worked out in revisions and in the rewrites, so I probably shouldn't overthink this too much. Um, But she wakes up and she finds out she was like crying out in her sleep. And that's how she realizes she didn't take her medicine, because it stops her night terrors. And then she has a flashback. Like, that's the flashback. And then she gets really overwhelmed remembering that she had a flashback. And she gets really angry at him and says, like, why did you knew, why did you let me go back there? And the missing information for you guys, for you, is that Trader Joe's is actually really significant in her family. So, like, her grandparents has always taken her there. She didn't really, there was a tradition that he had with his parents, where they would do exactly what he did for Colette, which is they would go around and pick out random dinner ingredients once a week and go home and make dinner from it. And so her grandparents would take her there sometimes, but they wouldn't really include her in the tradition. Um, ooh, um, and they kind of stopped the tradition of like doing like a little family meal every week where they all work together to make it. But they still go to Trader Joe's because they like that store and it's like it's significant to them. Um, so she could be in the cereal aisle. Little girl is asking the parents semi-loudly for the same cereal from her memory of retrieving food the day the parents were discovered. Ooh, that could definitely. I think that could be. Come on, there we go. I think that could definitely be included in this. Okay, me. I'm gonna see what I can pull out of my butt for this because I think once I get this scene written, that's gonna help me get out of this little rut that I'm in. Because I'm clearly not afraid of writing things out of order, but sometimes when there's like that one thing that you're like, I know what needs to happen, but I can't make it happen. Let's see. Hmm. Er, uh, how do I end this? Sorry, how do I end this chapter? Okay, and then she wakes up in the morning. Okay. This will probably end up being in italics. I need something to make it a slightly more clear transition that this is a memory. But this scene will also really like make that clear. Um, pulled it towards me. navigating around. Okay. A small family. I stepped. That was also choosing a cart. I stepped into the bright and open store. I was instantly greeted by a passing employee as I passed rows upon rows of flowers. Okay, so I stepped inside the lobby of the grocery store to reach for a small red cart. I hesitated, hand hovering above the handle. Should I grab a cart? Maybe I would only need a basket. I had never done this on my own before. Grandma always grabbed a cart. I would grab a cart too. I dropped my hand down onto the handle of the shopping cart and pulled it towards me. Navigating around a small family that was also choosing a cart, I stepped into the bright and open store. I was instantly greeted by a passing employee as I passed rows upon rows of flowers. Something in my mind remembered that my grandma always bought flowers when we came here. What did she like to get? Whoop. There were so many options. I could get an arrangement or a small bundle. Same flowers. And there was so much greenery. Maybe I could get a few bundles of flowers and greenery and make my own arrangement. Suddenly that felt like a lot to do on top of unpacking my apartment and figuring out what to make for dinner. I settled for one of the pre-made, I guess it has a dash. Made arrangements. Okay, Scrivener, leave me alone. Settled for one of the pre-made arrangements and continued on to the produce. As I wandered, as I slowly guided my cart past the refrigerated produce and near the large displays, I remembered my list. I had made a list, just like Grandma had done every week before we went to the store. It was really trying to be responsible. I didn't want to let her or Grandpa down. They were paying for my college and... Okay, I should change. Hang on. unpacking my dorm suite. And extra for the housing for the dorms that were bigger and had fewer roommates. That's a terrible sentence, but we'll work on it. Let's see. Hi! Welcome. So, Annie Druitt, I know you're from Melly's, or Mizzy Bloom's stream. Um, do you go by Drew? But hello and welcome. We're writing some stories here today and drinking some good wine. Drew, okay, yay, I will remember that. Yay, welcome. We're drinking wine and telling stories. So, um, okay. I'm so sorry. I knew there were some people in the stream that were people that she's known for like forever. um, yeah, I bet it. I think like I'm one of her roommates. Ooh, you knew them before they got together, so you've got the tea. Is basically what I'm hearing. So, you know all the things. I love that. And oh, you're one of the you're the person who once they can find a place is going to be their roommate, right? Because they're our roommates right now. Or is that somebody else? Apparently, pre-made is most accepted by everything except spell check. Okay, that's good to know. Thank you, Missy. Um, okay, that's what I thought. So I will say Scrivener's dictionary is a little weird sometimes. Like it got pissy at me for spelling out okay, like OKAY. Because although I recently had a student, I corrected her spelling. Warlock is going to move over there. That's right. That's right. I will get everybody straight at some point. I'm so bad at names. I'm so bad at keeping people straight. I will figure my life out. But yeah, I know Missy has brought up before, like Warlock coming and staying. And honestly, that's right. You're the kid. Okay. Okay. It's all coming together now. Yay. um, honestly, if we had another bedroom, I would say he could come over now. And just join the frat house, but we are busting at the seams as it is. So it's yeah, unfortunately, I feel so bad. Which I know it's like that. It's not my fault. But I will still be sad that he cannot leave Tennessee. So, or the place that he is. So, let's see. They're paying. So yeah, I think we're gonna make this college. So she's 18 years old. It's enough time for her to forget to for her mind to suppress it. I don't remember lots of stuff from when I was 18. That's normal, right? um, let's see. They were paying for my college and extra for the dorms that were bigger and had fewer roommates. It can't help that most of us are just usernames these days. Yes, also that. Which is so that's why I was hesitant to rebrand as the Lore Masters, despite the fact that this is not just a one-woman show. That it really is like Andrew and I, and sometimes my husband as well. Um, but Rose Elliott writes goes live, and then there's her and another. It was getting confusing. People were like, "What is going on?" So the rebrand was necessary. But now it's now my name isn't in my username, and I've always tried to have my name somewhere in a username so that people can recognize me. So let's see, they were paying extra, were bigger and fewer roommates. I had briefly met my new roommate, Margaret. Introducing Margaret here. Well, I'm gonna bring my writing buddy closer. Hey, yo, friend. So this might encourage her to pop up so one of you can redeem the I Spy Sylvie channel points if you see her. But she's hanging out in Andrew's chair. So, well, it's my chair that he sits in. But, his spot. Oh, sorry, kitty. She just likes to be close. I spend a lot of time in this office, so she's just trying to be close, aren't you? Um, Petting off-screen cat. Sorry. And she had seemed nice enough. She liked some of the same Trader Joe's snacks I liked. So she couldn't be too bad of a person. Again, I know, bad word. We're getting the story. We're getting it out on paper. Um, I pulled my crumpled list out of my jeans pocket. Why did they make the pockets on women's jeans so small? I could barely cram a piece of... I'm gonna put a little mini, you're just lurking while you play Overwatch. Okay, thank you for the lurk. Yeah, definitely a lurky kind of stream, so I am totally okay with that. I could barely cram a piece of paper into the pocket on my hip. I straightened out the list and scanned it for produce. There wasn't a lot of that on the list. We were college students after all. Not to mention that our fridge was kind of small. I grabbed a couple of salad kits, a bag of carrots, and a carton of grapes. Let's see. I made sure to snag some apples before moving on to the cereal. Behind me, at the cereal, I stood and stared at the wide range of selections. I scoured the shelves for my favorite cereal. I could never remember what it was called, but I knew what the box looked like. Behind me, a tiny voice squealed. Oop. Mama, Mama. The little girl from the small family I had passed on my way in ran in. Oop, that's going to be a capital T. For this particular situation, ran in front of me and grabbed a box of cereal in her tiny hands. I found it. I found my favorite cereal. I smiled to myself. I smiled to myself. I guess I had the same taste buds as a 4-year-old. Taste buds are two words, apparently? Okay. That's fine. Um, 1 second, sorry. Okay. I guess I have the same taste buds as a 4-year-old. As I reached, as I carefully reached around the little girl to grab a box of my own, her mother came running. Ooh, she needs a name. Little girl needs a name. Ooh, got it. Got it. The mother barked as she grabbed her daughter's arm. I flinched at the sudden, loud, I flinched at her sharp words. My heart started racing. She wasn't talking to me, but the way she said her daughter's name almost sounded like mine. Colette, Clara, they were very close. um, Actually, let's go with whispered urgently. They were very close. I suddenly felt guilty for picking up a box of cereal of the cereal Clara was now reluctantly putting back on the shelf. But Mama, Clara whimpered as she tried very hard to obey. Clara whimpered as she tried very hard to obey. I thought I could pick out a treat. Daddy said so. Clara's mom, we'll go with mom, looked tired. I know he said so, but I think he changed his mind, sweetheart. Clara's head drooped. He always changes his mind. I know, baby. I know. Clara's mom put an arm around her daughter and guided her back to her waiting, back to their cart. Clara's father stood by the cart, tapping his foot, his arms crossed impatiently. He had definitely changed his mind about the treat. My he had definitely changed his mind about the treat. My heart continued to race. As I watched him roughly push his daughter onward, going deeper into the store. My throat felt tight as I tried to swallow and move on from the moment. But I was frozen in place. One hand holding my shopping list and the other gripping a box of cereal tightly. Gripping a box of cereal. Gripping the box of cereal. It's me. Another shopper. Another shopper squeezed past me and began surveying the cereal. The spell broken. I shifted into motion and dropped the cereal box into my cart. I began to push it down the aisle again. The moment lingering in my mind, but no longer freezing me in place. I grabbed a couple bags of trail mix and tossed them in my cart. As I lingered in front of the bakery section, trying to remember which bread Grandma always got me, I heard them again. Heard them again. Heard them again. Okay. Clara, get back here. You're supposed to be keeping an eye on Okay, Mom says, Clara, get back here. Dad says, do you always let her run wild like this? No wonder I can never get any peace. Clara's parents' voices drifted out of the snack aisle as I heard footsteps come my way. giggling and holding a bag of chips, Clara ducked under my cart. She peeked up at me and gave me a grin and a giggle. I tried to smile back at her, but found that my face was stuck. Were the lights suddenly getting brighter in here? I appreciated the little girl's game, but didn't want to be part of it. I didn't want to talk to her father, but I didn't know what to do or say. I was frozen again. Hands gripping the cart until my knuckles turned white. Clara? Her father's voice shouted, "Where did you go?" "Shh," Clara whispered to me. "Don't tell. It's a game." I grimaced, not sure what to say to her. Somehow, her father walked past me without noticing that his daughter had taken refuge under my cart. Uh, Thank you. I have. Okay, I didn't. Oh, he's gone. I didn't want the whole bag, but I have snacks. I have, funny enough, cinnamon dragons from Trader Joe's, and apples and chocolate. I did eat dinner, but I had a very, very late lunch and then dinner, and that's about it today. So I was like, I should probably nibble on something while I'm writing tonight. Yeah. So giving her that happy-go-lucky kind of vibe. Popcorn! Ooh, yummy. I love popcorn. We do not have any popcorn in our house right now, which is surprising considering I love popcorn. So, spread out my sticks. Okay. So I'm kind of going for here is like, typically these Trader Joe's trips for Claire and her mom are like fun and lighthearted and everything. For some reason, Dad decided to come today, and so she's doing her usual goofy antics, and he's having none of it. So Okay, surprised. I found myself relaxing a bit. As long as I didn't have to face the wrath of Claire's father, she could hide wherever she wanted. No, this is Patrick. I need to do a sound alert for that. And I say that as if I know how to set up sound alerts. But hey Dawn, how's it going? Hmm. Oh, how was closing for work? Weren't you doing that today? You're sleepy and hungry. I have snacks. Come get snacks. I got apples and dark chocolate and cinnamon dragons. How was work? Sorry. Because you were closing today, weren't you? Orange butter. Okay, you're going to have to explain orange butter to me. Okay. So Dawn is explaining orange butter. I'm explaining cinnamon dragons. So they're these like... Here, let me switch for a minute. Haha. Okay, they're these like... They're at Trader Joe's. Which is funny because I'm currently writing a scene that takes place in Trader Joe's. And they look like this. And they taste like little hot tamales. But they're like gummy candies. They're super good. Trader Joe's gummies are phenomenal. I love them. Ah! Peanut butter. That makes way more sense. There's peanut butter in my dark chocolate. So I have apples and So Trader Joe's also has this oh, hello kitty. Hello friend. We have all sorts of cat friends today. Wow, I'm very impressed with you, cat. We're currently babysitting a friend's cat because apparently we're the cat hotel. And she just jumped up here and like navigated through like my snacks, my glass of wine, my bottle of wine, and like didn't knock a thing over. So today's book club is Rose is writing a novel book club. Rose is working on her novel book club. So that's what we're doing today. So it's a ghosty story. I had a teacher in grade school that rewarded us with hot tamales for answering questions right during the review for tests. Good memories, but I never actually liked them. Oh, that's too bad. They're very cinnamony. If you don't like strong cinnamon flavors, you will not like the cinnamon dragons. So, yeah, there's Trader Joe's has this like cinnamon like spread that's kind of caramely. Ooh, okay, I gotta stretch. It's like it's like a cinnamon bun spread, and it's very good, and it's also very good on apples. We like Trader Joe's in this house. It's got good stuff. We also like Costco in this house. I'm a stretching girl. I want a Cinnabon shake. Oh my word, Don. Oh, that sounds good. Just a milkshake sounds good right now. Ice cream, but I am trying to avoid ice cream and overly cold things right now, because I need a root canal, and cold things hurt. Diabetes intensifies, yes, which is why I'm eating nature's candy and also a little bit of candy, because we are not doing diabetes in this house. I have never been to a Trader Joe's. You guys haven't been to Trader Joe's? Oh my goodness. I love it. I think so. I don't go as much as I used to. That used to be where I got most of my groceries, and there's a Costco across the street from my Trader Joe's, so I would go there for like bulk stuff and then get like weekly stuff at Trader Joe's. I like it for now for like for snacks. I get a lot of snacks there. And a lot of their frozen stuff is really good. I like to keep a lot of like freezer type stuff on hand for breakfast and lunch because I am really bad at remembering to eat. And then the thing I remember to eat is like an entire bag of pretzels. And neither of those options are very healthy. So they're not very nutritionally sound. Um, and so I keep like things from Trader Joe's and then other things uh, that are like, yeah, just easy. Trader Joe's does not sell sunglasses. So I don't know where they were going for overpriced sunglasses. Maybe it was the mall. The mall was like the thing. People would get a lot of Oh, excuse me. People would get a lot of their snacks from Trader Joe's. I remember that. I didn't. I never went in college, but I know a lot of people went there for snacks. Um, I usually went like wherever my roommates were going, which was usually Walmart because I didn't have a car, so I like could not control where we went. Um, so let's see. But we're in Trader Joe's right now in this little thing. I definitely think it's worth it. It's not, especially we've got four adults in the house and we feed a fifth adult several times a week. So our favorite charity case, aka Andrew, he's not watching right now as far as I'm aware. So I could just, well, homeboy better be asleep actually. But so we eat at Costco. I'll have to see. Yeah, you totally should. Totally should report back. It's okay if you don't like it. But it's definitely to me it's worth doing. You know what? I just realized I've been like doing this for 2 hours. So I'm gonna take a quick 5 minute break, run to the bathroom, actually stand and stretch a little bit. So I'm gonna do that and then I'll be right back. I don't know what you need the snipping tool for, but it sounds scary. There is a clip action that you can use on the thing. You can clip things. So I don't know what I did where you need a clip thing, but do it. Okay, I will be back in about 5 minutes. our favorite charity case, aka Andrew. He's not watching right now, as far as I'm aware, so I could just. Well, homeboy better be asleep, actually. Especially, we've got 4 adults in the house, and we feed a 5th adult several times a week. So, our favorite charity case, aka Andrew. He's not watching right now, as far as I'm aware, so I could just. Well, homeboy better be asleep, actually. Especially, we've got 4 adults. Alright, we back. Oops, wrong lever, Kronk. There we go. I mean, same lever, but okay. Fix the music. Okay, I am back. Let me know if the music is too loud. And I realized after I watched the clip that you could all hear me watching the clip, so I'm sorry. Still figuring my life out. You sounded like you were legit talking into a microphone. Oops. Well, yeah. I mean, it's fine. It's fine. Oh, a megaphone. Yeah. And you got to hear me chew. There's always going to be a weird thing with sound. It's just our thing. It's just how we do it. We are not a smooth operation over here. If we ever are, I'll be super impressed with us. It's fine. Everything's fine. Yeah, it's fine. Okay, we're back. Missy made. It's fun and smooth. Exactly. So, actually, there's a really great, I think it's a clip. I'm gonna see if I can find it because it's hilarious. Yeah. Okay. Let me pause this music really fast. Pull this up and I'm gonna show it to you guys because I feel like this just fits. So this is not the first time I've forgotten to turn off my mic when we're on either like a loading screen or a BRB screen. So let me just like pull this up. I think this is it. Yeah, here we go. Okay. I just realized I did not do something. Also, the second screen is over here for now because of stupid shit.
Stop saying that.
Okay. Why is OBS not? Yeah, and that was how I discovered that I had left my microphone on while we had the loading screen, like the stream will start soon. So we are not only just as weird off screen as we are on screen, I think we're actually weirder. So yeah. Anyways. I think I actually put it on TikTok, a better version of that clip, which you guys can watch in your own time, but I'll put it on TikTok. I will post the link. Hold on. Oh, okay. Let me find it. So, if you want to watch a great TikTok, it's that, but like with a little more chaos. So, there we go. Okay, putting up my background music again. Actually, I'm gonna pull this. Boop. Okay. Alright, now that we've... There's definitely some good clips in there, though. In the clips library. Also, Don, since I assume you're still here, I'm going to do a quick shout out for you. If you are not following Don, you absolutely should. He is awesome. No, not here. Okay. Well, I'm giving you a shout out anyway. He is a wonderful community builder, a great encouragement. Definitely was very helpful in getting us to affiliate. Actually, like, one of the people that really made, like, helped with that push, that final push to affiliate. So, very grateful. And, yeah. So, I tried to do that cool thing that Kelly added today, where a clip pops up, but I clearly did it wrong. So, I'm going to have to ask her again how she did it, because it didn't come up. But that's fine. Anyway, back to this. So, follow Don. Let's write a novel. Okay. So, Claire's excited. I want to add clips, but I won't be able to see them with my one monitor experience. Oh. Yeah, you definitely, like... So, I'm super impressed, though, that you have managed to run such a successful stream with only one monitor. Like not... Like, because I get stressed out. If like, there was one day where I only had one monitor, for some reason. I don't even remember. And I was losing my mind. So, good for you. Good for you. I'm impressed with that. Also, do we need to do, like, a little fundraiser to get Don a new monitor? Because I will 100% chip in for that. Okay, second monitor. Okay. At least for now. That makes sense. I do have my stream manager up on my phone. Like, I have it up over here as well, like, on my second monitor. But I have it on my phone, so I'm not constantly, like, doing this. Okay, at least for now. I would have to leave the store eventually. Oh, okay, that's fair. The bigger desk. So, campaign to get Donnie bigger desk and a second monitor. Got it. Okay. Know what to do now. Also an actual gaming desk. Yes. Those things are they're amazing. I actually technically do not have, like, a true gaming desk. I have a desk that I got from someone, like, I used to know, and they were getting rid of this desk, and it was, like, totally free, and a chair. Yeah, you just need the whole setup. We're gonna raise money to get down the whole setup. And it's supposed to be an L-shaped desk, but I set it up so that it's one long desk. And I used to share it with my husband. Like, I sat on one end, he sat on the other. But between, like, my teaching and then my evening streams, it was getting challenging for him to be able to, like, talk to friends or, like, do whatever he was going to do on his computer, because I was just running my mouth 24/7. And so he and one of our roommates have their desks set up in the garage, and that's the official man cave. And then I have my desk in here, and Mizzy has her desk over in her room with Crimson, and it's party. It's fun in here. It's great. So yeah, but I have this like the whole desk that goes along one wall in my office, and then the other wall is mostly bookshelves. So it's pretty cool. I keep thinking I see a cat in here. I realized when I came back from the bathroom that I had when I was sitting here before my break, I'd had all 3 cats in this room with me. So they were all hiding in various spots. So it's real fun. It's real fun. Okay, I'm going to mute myself again intentionally so I can blow my nose, and then I'm going to keep writing. I'm sure you need to know that. No, Don, I refuse. I refuse. I feel weird enough eating snacks on stream, but I can't just constantly be muting and unmuting myself. And I want my snacks. So, snacks. Okay. At least for now, I would have to leave the store eventually. Give us that sweet sound of, yeah. See, no. I actually, one of my students was said the same thing. My nose was particularly runny one day, and so I kept muting myself to blow my nose, and he was like, "No, Ms. Rose, ah, no buffering, don't do it." Okay, it's done. It's done. No more buffering. No more buffering. Okay. Cool. Yay. Yeah, kept muting to blow my nose, and he was like, "No, it's fine. Just blow in the microphone." I was like, "I'm not doing that." He goes, "No, nose blowing ASMR." We don't do that here. We don't. This is a class trying to teach you children how to do it. Not doing the ASMR. So, okay, I'm doing this. Okay. Her mother's sharp whisper. Someone's internet don't want book club. It's probably mine, which is weird because I am like literally I have an Ethernet cable. It's struggling today. It's been struggling in the evenings, but I may have been yours. No, it was buffering for a minute on my end too. Actually, where is Discord? What is my husband doing? He's just okay. Because we were like, yeah, it's fine. Okay. Her mother's sharp whisper. Kick him off the internet. No. We actually we have good enough internet that we should all be able to be on all at once and it'd be fine. But it's had a rough couple of days, so I turned to face the woman. As we made eye contact, my heart sank. The fear in her eyes looked so familiar. I had seen it before in my own mother's eyes. I gave the woman a small smile and bent down to make eye contact with Clara. "Hi," I greeted her. "Hello," Clara grinned at me, arms still clutching the bag. "What did you remember? Dad, what did you remember?" "You should go back with your mom now," I told her. But thanks for... Ah! You literally... You literally spent 15 bits to cheer Ooh Books. Oh my... You Books. I'm clipping that. I'm clipping that. Oh my word. But thanks for... Ah! You literally... But thanks for... Ah! There it is. Oh, I could have just... Oh, I could have... I have a clip command. What am I doing? Oh, well, there it is. Done. My word. That was beautiful. That was beautiful. I'm proud of you. It is. It really is. That needs to be like a sound alert or something. Which that reminds me, I don't know if you were in Nim's stream earlier today, but she was playing that game, Miss Fortune, and that little girl says, she was like, "Yikes forever," and I was like, that needs to be a sound alert. But yes, ah! Oh my word. Oh my word. Raid alert, what? Don, what did you do? What did you do? Okay, okay, thank you for the alert, but now I'm like more nervous. I was there for a couple hours when she started. Okay. We must have missed each other. Because I was not there when she started. I got there, I lurked like all day, and then I had her muted, and then I would turn on sound when I didn't have a class, and she was playing that game. It was so cool, but I came in right as she was starting her second playthrough of the day. When you get ready, you just hear yourself going, ah! Yes. Okay, I like that. I'm gonna see what I can do about like making. Now I need to learn how to make sound alerts. You were probably just waking up when she started. Yes. Yeah, she starts really early in the day for me because she's over on obviously your on your like your time zone. That's what I'm looking for. Okay, I can't look at this right now. I can't I'm streaming. But yeah, I should make a sound for that for when I get rated. Cuz that's how I feel, like the ah. So whoops, all caps. Hanging out with me. Yeah. It's nice that she has the time for that. Like, I mean, like, not, I'm not saying that in like a, oh, must be nice. I'm like, it's awesome that she is able to do that. She's really built like such a good community on her stream, and it was really cool to be part of it. I hung out in there. I was grading some papers and just listening to her, and I was chatting a little bit, and yeah, it's just she's just so wholesome. Clara. Clara's grin disappeared as she I think you're right. There were a bunch of people that she was shouting out today, and I was like, I already follow half of these people. At her mother pleadingly. I'm having... Oh, hi! Hi, Mothball! This is Mothball. Come here. Oh. We are... You can kind of see her tail. Can I show you to the people? Oh, boop. Yeah, come here. Oop. Yeah, you're very cozy. Yeah. Oh, and I can hear my kitten. She is so this is Mothball. She's visiting. Okay, bye. She is Sylvie's age. Yeah, about Sylvie's age, a little older than her. And they have been Mothball had a rough start to the visit, but they've been playing. Yeah, she's actually pretty sleek. Honey is our chonker. Yeah, she and Sylvie have been actually playing today, which is good. They've been having a good time. Mothball was a little stressed out when she first got here. Even though she's been here before and like knows Sylvie and plays with her and everything. Yeah, she was like, and I'm gone and I'm out. I think she heard the dog or our roommates getting home. So she's like, I'm a play, I'm a run, I'm a dash, I am speed. She's also an only cat, and she went from only cat to visiting in a house with like a dog and 3 cats. And the dog and one of the cats was not there the last time she was here. So she was a little overwhelmed her first couple of days here, but she's doing better now. So she's a good kitty. Zoomies, yes. Zoom zoom. Okay. Much fun, and Daddy is being grumpy. As Clara's mom gave her a look that was all too familiar. The look was one that my own mother, had often given me when she was alive. The don't get your dad started look. The one I got when Suddenly my ghost felt overwhelmingly close. He had been with me this whole time, but he liked to wander while keeping me within eyeshot. Eyeshot? Come on. That is 100% a word. Eyeshot? Is it a word? Come on, give it to me. Yes. Yes, it is. He is with an eyeshot. It's a word. Forget you, Gardner. My shoulder. The large, bright, open grocery store gave to me. Wait. Give to you? Ghost in the face. Ghost in the face. Give to me. And they felt, I think you're behind me, Dawn. I don't know what you mean by give it to me. I mean like more behind me than I missed something. Sorry. Okay. Wow. It's really sad if I don't even know like the words that I'm saying. This is me. So this is why I was like, writing stream will be very entertaining because me in the zone, doing my thing. It's interesting, man. Let me make a new paragraph for this one. Okay. So out of context, I didn't even know what I was saying. Okay. Suddenly my ghost felt overwhelmingly close. He'd been with me this whole time, but he liked to wander while keeping me within eye shot. But now he was hovering right over my shoulder. The large, bright, open grocery store suddenly felt very small and cramped. The lights felt The lights were, or had become painfully bright, almost blinding. My chest tightened as I moved, as I tried to move away from Clara and her mom. I stumbled, still crouching, and fell backwards into my cart. Clara yelped in surprise, as she was knocked to the floor. Clara yelped. Her mom swooped in to grab her, but it was too late. The little girl, knocked her head on the hard floor and began to wail. From out of nowhere, her father appeared. Saw the scene. Her father appeared. He took in the scene before him. His daughter wailing on the floor. His wife scooping Clara into her arms and me sitting on the floor next to my full cart in a daze. My bouquet. Bouquet. My bouquet of flowers had fallen out of. What is that, like? That's not helpful. Like in a grocery cart, the little basket, the little. This. What do you call this? Where you you put your kid seat? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Had fallen out of the small kid seat and on the floor next to me. Petals were scattered, and an unsuspecting shopper stepped on the now less than perfect flower arrangement as he tried and failed not to stare at the chaos unfolding. Clara's father began to turn. Clara's father's face turned bright red. He glared at me over his. He glared at me as he stood over his terrified wife and weeping child. What the hell did you do to my daughter? He screamed. Baby, it's okay. His wife piped up from where she sat crouched on the floor, cradling a crying Clara in her arms. She didn't do anything. Clara was playing near her cart and she didn't see her. It's my fault. You bet your ass it's your fault. The angry man bellowed at his wife. You let that kid run wild like she's some sort of animal. I knew something like this would happen. His wife cowered in silence, trying and failing to comfort her daughter. Toddler seat is the other thing I'm seeing. If you don't like kid seat. Ooh, I like that better. The small, I'll go with small toddler seat. There we go. His wife cowered in silence, trying and failing to comfort her daughter. I remained frozen on the ground. The man I felt some of the flower petals next to my hand and instinctively gripped them in my fist. The man lunged for his wife, grabbed her by the arm, and dragged her to a standing position. His now wailing daughter nearly fell to the ground again as his wife, as her mother, fought to keep a grip on her daughter while finding her balance. Somehow this snapped me out of my I'm gonna head out. Bed is calling on this coast. Yes, definitely. It is very late over there. Thank you for hanging out, Missy. It's been fun to have you here. I'll see you around next time. Bye. And sleep well. Have a good night. Somehow this snapped me out of my... All eyes on the couple and their daughter. I grabbed my purse and ran out of the store. I didn't stop running until I had reached my second floor dorm room. I have not been able to get that scene written. But I did the fucking thing. I'm like, oh, it feels so good to get that out of there. Yay. That's 1,600 words. Yay me. Yay everything. Okay. So, let me just, okay. Let me see how this flows. Don, I just saw your chat. My bed doesn't call me. It knows I'll come back. Yep, same. Okay, well. Alright, so I just wrote like a whole scene here. 1,600 words, which is awesome, super good. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna read the scene preceding it, the scene I just wrote, and then the scene following it, and see if they all flow together. Now, this scene is actually the end of a chapter, and then this next one moves into a new chapter. So it might feel, the transition might feel a little abrupt there. But I am if anyone's hanging out, I'm going to ask a question after this. You guys are kind of like beta readers, but not in a way. So, yeah. Okay, so let's so to give you guys some context for what I'm about to read, the ghost, like, he was determined, excuse me, to get her outside, to get her to run some errands in person instead of ordering everything online. Online using Instacart when, her grocery store was like right across the street. He wanted her to go to like a store and get some food containers, like food storage, so she could like actually have decent meals throughout the week, even though she's like cooking just for one and all that stuff. And it really overwhelmed her. And she also kind of had a better idea about buying the food storage. He wanted her to buy them in person, and she lives in a city. It was going to have to drag all of that, multiple blocks, and also still go to the grocery store. So she was like, look, I will order these online and then I'll go to the grocery store in person. But he was like, the ghost kind of pitched a fit and disappeared. So, and then there's like a ghost interlude where he's kind of feeling some kind of way, trying to figure out what's going on. Now, here we go, Saturday night. Okay. My ghost didn't return until I was back in my apartment unpacking my groceries. When I felt the familiar chill run down my spine, I also felt a sense of relief. I had followed his grocery list precisely and was now filling my refrigerator and shelves with unfamiliar foods. If he hadn't come back, I wasn't sure what I would have done with all of this weird food. I'm sorry, he whispered quietly. I silently continued putting my food away. He spoke again. That wasn't fair. I won't leave you again. I stood with my back to my ghost, quietly staring at nothing. My hand lingered on the door to my food cupboard. Hot tears dripped down my face. I tried to blink them away, but gave up and rubbed my eyes until the tears stopped. I took a deep, shaky breath and turned to face him. Please don't do that again. I won't. I'm here. I nodded silently and swallowed the lump in my throat. When I looked up at him again, he looked like he wanted to say something to me. We lingered in the kitchen like that for several minutes, just staring at each other. I didn't know what to say. Finally, I turned back to my grocery bags and finished unpacking my food. A few minutes later, my paper grocery bags unpacked and folded into the recycling, I turned back towards my ghost. So, what's for dinner? I asked awkwardly. Something seemed to change in him when he finally spoke again. He seemed almost relieved? I wasn't sure. The moment passed just as quickly as it came. He moved seamlessly into guiding me through making dinner. I was soon spooning butter over a beautifully cooked steak, asparagus roasting in my oven. My ghost had begrudgingly allowed me to use the minute rice as another side. Not that he really truly had a say in the choices I made. The incident with the food storage today proved that. After eating, I ignored his pointed look as I covered another plate of leftovers with tinfoil. He would understand tomorrow when my next day delivery arrived. I continued ignoring him as he tried tugging me towards the sink full of dishes. Cooking 2 nights in a row had used up most of the tools I had in my kitchen. The pile of dishes looming in my sink mocked me, the cast iron pan looking especially odious. I didn't even know the first thing about cleaning it. I had used it 2 nights in a row. More than I ever had in the whole time I'd had it. Come to think of it, I wasn't really sure where I'd gotten the cast iron pan in the first place. It certainly wasn't my first choice in cooking tools. It was far too intimidating. I dragged myself out of the kitchen, continuing to ignore my ghost's attempts to get me to clean up. It could wait. Everything could wait. I sank down on the couch, exhaustion washing over me. Going to the grocery store last night had taken everything out of me. Going completely alone today had taken even more. I still wasn't sure how I'd made it all the way through. But I had. I'd walked into a grocery store, grabbed a cart, filled it with food, stood in line at the checkout, interacted with the cashier, paid for my groceries, and left with 2 bags brimming with food I rarely ate. Every moment had been excruciating. I had white-knuckled the cart my entire time in the store. Standing in line with other shoppers, I felt incredibly exposed. It seemed like everyone was watching me, staring at me, waiting for me to break. I stuttered and sputtered my way through my conversation with the cashier. I was conscious of how significant this grocery trip was for me. If I texted Margaret or emailed my grandparents about it, I'd be bombarded with phone calls and excitement. But I didn't. I knew they loved me and would want to hear about this victory, but I wasn't even sure if I could call it a victory. It felt too small, too insignificant. People went to the grocery store all the time. Even if it was a big deal, I was too tired to even appreciate it. As I lay on the couch, recollecting the day's trip to Trader Joe's, I couldn't help but remember what had happened the last time I went to a grocery store. There was a reason I didn't go to grocery stores anymore, why delivery was my preferred method for stocking my cupboards. It hadn't always been that way. I still wasn't sure exactly what changed, but something had changed. I stepped inside. Hold on. I stepped inside the lobby of the grocery store and reached for a small red cart. I hesitated, hand hovering above the handle. Should I grab a cart? Maybe I would only need a basket. I had never done this on my own before. Grandma always grabbed a cart. I would grab a cart too. I dropped my hand down onto the handle of the shopping cart and pulled it towards me. Navigating around a small family that was also choosing a cart, I stepped into the bright and open store. I was instantly greeted by a passing employee as I passed rows upon rows of flowers. Something in my mind remembered that my grandma always bought flowers when we came here. What did she like to get? There were so many options. I could get an arrangement or a small bundle of all the same flowers. And there was so much greenery. Maybe I could get a few bundles of flowers and greenery and make my own arrangement. Suddenly, that felt like a lot to do on top of unpacking my dorm suite and figuring out what to make for dinner. I settled for one of the pre-made arrangements and continued on to the produce. As I slowly guided my cart past the refrigerated produce and near the large displays, I remembered my list. I had made a list, just like Grandma had done every week before we went to the store. I was really trying to be responsible. I didn't want to let her or Grandpa down. They were paying for my college and extra for the dorms that were bigger and had fewer roommates. I had briefly met my new roommate, Margaret, and she had seemed nice enough. She liked some of the same Trader Joe's snacks I liked, so she couldn't be too bad of a person. I pulled my crumpled list out of my jeans pocket. Why did they make the pockets on women's jeans so small? I could barely cram a piece of paper into the pocket on my hip. I straightened out the list and scanned it for produce. There wasn't a lot on the list. We were college students after all. Not to mention that our fridge was kind of small. I grabbed a couple of salad kits, a bag of carrots, and a carton of grapes. I made sure to snag some apples before moving on to the cereal. At the cereal, I stood and stared at the wide range of selections. I scoured the shelves for my favorite cereal. I could never remember what it was called, but I knew what the box looked like. Behind me, a tiny voice squealed. "Mama! Mama!" The little girl from the small family I had passed on my way in ran in front of me and grabbed a box of cereal in her tiny hands. "I found it! I found my favorite cereal!" I smiled to myself. I guess I had the same taste buds as a 4-year-old. As I carefully reached around the little girl to grab a box of my own, her mother came running. "Clara, put that back!" the mother whispered urgently as she grabbed her daughter's arm. I flinched at her sharp words. Burp. My heart started racing. She wasn't talking to me, but the way she said her daughter's name almost sounded like mine. Colette, Clara, they were very close. I suddenly felt guilty for picking up a box of the cereal Clara was now reluctantly putting back on the shelf. "But Mama," Clara whimpered as she tried very hard to obey, "I thought I could pick out a treat. Daddy said so." Clara's mom looked tired. "I know he said so, but I think he changed his mind, sweetheart." Clara drooped her head. "He always changes his mind." "I know, baby. I know." Clara's mom put an arm around her daughter and guided her back to their cart. Clara's father stood by the cart, his arms crossed impatiently. He had definitely changed his mind about the treat. My heart continued to race as I watched him roughly push his daughter onward, going deeper into the store. My throat felt tight as I tried to swallow and move on from the moment. But I was frozen in place, one hand holding my shopping list and the other gripping the box of cereal. "Excuse me." Another shopper squeezed past me and began surveying the cereal. The spell broken, I shifted into motion and dropped the cereal box into my cart. I began to push it down the aisle again, the moment lingering in my mind, but no longer freezing me in place. I grabbed a couple of bags of trail mix and tossed them in my cart. As I lingered in front of the bakery section, trying to remember which bread Grandma always got me, I heard them again. Clara, get back here! Do you always let her run wild like this? No wonder I can never get any peace. Clara's parents' voices drifted out of the snack aisle as I heard footsteps come my way. Giggling and holding a bag of chips, Clara ducked under my cart. She peeked up at me and gave me a grin and a giggle. I tried to smile back at her, but found that my face was stuck. Were the lights suddenly getting brighter in here? I appreciated the little girl's game, but didn't want to be a part of it. I didn't want to talk to her father. But I didn't know what to do or say. I was frozen again, hands gripping the cart until my knuckles turned white. Clara? Her father's voice shouted. Where did you go? Shh, Clara whispered to me. Don't tell! It's a game! I grimaced, not sure what to say to her. Somehow, her father walked past me without noticing that his daughter had taken refuge under my cart. Surprised, I found myself relaxing a bit. As long as I didn't have to face the wrath of Clara's father, she could hide wherever she wanted. At least for now. I would have to leave the store eventually. Clara! Her mother's sharp whisper made me jump. Get away from this nice lady's cart! I turned to face the woman. As we made eye contact, my heart sank. The fear in her eyes looked so familiar. I had seen it before in my own mother's eyes. I gave the woman a small smile and bent down to make eye contact with Clara. Hi, I greeted her. Hello! Clara grinned at me, arms still clutching the bag of chips. You should go back with your mom now, I told her. But thanks for hanging out with me. Clara's grin disappeared as she shrank away from me. But, she looked up at her mother pleadingly. I'm having so much fun, and Daddy is being grumpy. I felt a chill run down my spine as Clara's mom gave her another look that was all too familiar. The look that was one that my own mother had often given me when she was alive. The don't get your dad started look. The one I got when I wanted to play, and my dad was having one of his extra bad days. Suddenly, my ghost felt overwhelmingly close. He had been with me this whole time, but he liked to wander while keeping me within eyeshot. But now he was hovering right over my shoulder. The large, bright, open grocery store suddenly felt very small and cramped. The lights had become painfully bright, almost blinding. My chest tightened as I tried to move away from Clara and her mom. I stumbled, still crouching, and fell backwards into my cart. Clara yelped in surprise as she was knocked to the floor. Her mom swooped in to grab her, but it was too late. The little girl knocked her head on the hard floor and began to wail. Out of nowhere, her father appeared. He took in the scene before him, his daughter wailing on the floor, his wife scooping Clara into her arms, and me sitting on the floor next to my full cart in a daze. My bouquet of flowers had fallen out of the small toddler seat and onto the floor next to me. Petals were scattered. An unsuspecting shopper stepped on the now less than perfect flower arrangement as he tried and failed not to stare at the chaos unfolding. Clara's father's face turned bright red. He glared at me as he stood over his terrified wife and weeping child. What the hell did you do to my daughter? He screamed. Baby, it's okay, his wife piped up from where she sat crouched on the floor, cradling a crying Clara in her arms. She didn't do anything. Clara was playing near her cart and she didn't see her. It's my fault. You bet your ass it's your fault, the angry man bellowed at his wife. You let that kid run wild like she's some sort of animal. I knew something like this would happen. His wife cowered in silence, trying and failing to comfort her daughter. I remained frozen on the ground. I felt some of the flower petals next to my hand and instinctively gripped them in my fist. The man lunged for his wife, grabbed her by the arm, and dragged her to a standing position. His now wailing daughter nearly fell to the ground again as her mother fought to keep a grip on her daughter while finding her balance. Somehow, this snapped me out of my trance. With all eyes on the couple and their daughter, I grabbed my purse and ran out of the store. I didn't stop running until I had reached my second-floor dorm room. Boop. When I woke up, I couldn't remember where I was. I lay stiffly with my eyes closed and my hands on my face, trying to place myself. I knew I wasn't in my bed. My neck ached and my muscles were sore. I had slept somewhere far more firm than my mattress. Not that I had really slept well. I had tossed and turned all night. Well, I had tried to toss and turn. There wasn't much space to roll around wherever I had slept. I hadn't left my apartment, had I? I had to figure it out eventually. I rubbed my face and slowly opened my eyes to see the ceiling of my apartment. My living room specifically. Slowly, so I definitely hadn't left my apartment last night. That didn't surprise me despite my disorientation. I hadn't had anything to drink. Not that I ever had alcohol. What was the point? So why did I feel so hungover? I must be on my couch, I realized. Why had I slept on my couch? Nothing was adding up. Nothing made sense. Slowly, carefully, I began to sit up. My joints and muscles groaned and protested as I tried to move. Looking down at my lap, I realized I had been covered by one of my blankets. Who had done that? Why had I slept on my couch? I sifted through my memories to find anything from the night before. I felt a chill run down my spine. My ghost appeared directly in front of my face. That was odd, too. I normally had to turn around or look, I normally had to turn around or look beside me to find him. Concern filled his formless face, or at least what I always assumed was his face. I had never considered how remarkable it was that I could glean emotions and expressions from something that objectively had none of those things. His state of being had always made sense to me, even with its lack of form or details. I even knew his gender. I didn't understand how I knew any of this, but I did. How are you feeling? My ghost broke the silence. I didn't know how I felt. Groggy? Sore? Exhausted? Emotionally spent? What had happened to me last night? The last question lingered in my mind. I found my voice again. What happened last night? I don't know, my ghost shook his head. He was just as confused as me. You sat down on the couch after dinner and fell asleep almost instantly. You kept thrashing and calling out all night. I tried to wake you up, but you kept swatting me away. No wonder I felt hungover. I was doubtful that I had slept at all. I fumbled around in the couch for my phone. I found it stuck between the cushions. I tapped the home button and the screen lit up. I glanced up at the battery indicator. The battery was low, at 28%. It rarely got that low unless I listened to music or an audiobook on my walk to and from work. The screen darkened before I realized I hadn't looked at the time. I sighed and tapped the home button again. This time I made sure to focus only on the digital clock on my lock screen. It told me that it was only a few minutes after 6 a.m. Surprised, I held my phone up to my ghost for him to see. I woke up at my usual time, I informed him, as if he couldn't see the screen for himself. Not that he really seemed to understand my phone or most modern technology. I thought back to the incident at the store the day before. I had tried to explain the concept of next day delivery to him, but he had been bent on getting me to buy the food storage in the store. I would have been more inclined to side with him if it hadn't meant lugging a heavy box several blocks all the way back to my 4th floor apartment. Thanks, but no thanks. My ghost looked at me as if he wanted to say something. I tilted my head, questions in my eyes. He seemed to be trying to speak, but somehow he couldn't. For that brief moment, it felt like we had gone back to the days where he didn't speak. The days where I could only guess at what he was thinking based on the expressions and emotions I could somehow observe in his formless form. But as quickly as the moment came, it left. Are you okay? I broke the silence this time. His voice trailed off. This moment felt oddly familiar, albeit reversed. Something had disturbed him. Something from the night before. Did something happen last night? I asked hesitantly. My ghost shook his head. He was silent for a long time. I nearly spoke again when he finally began to talk. You kept crying out. in your sleep. You were screaming something. Words, phrases. Sometimes you mumbled. Other times the words were clear as day. I sank back into the couch. Dazed and confused, I tried to work out what he was saying. I never talked in my sleep. I never screamed or cried or even mumbled. At least, I hadn't talked in my sleep in a long time. Not since... My medicine! I sat up and snapped my fingers. My ghost jumped in surprise. I reached out my hand towards him. I'm sorry, it's just, I didn't take my medicine last night. No wonder I feel so horrible. The medicine helps my brain relax so I can sleep. It stops my night terrors. You remember, don't you? I used to get horrible night terrors. I didn't sleep for a week once. The medicine is the only thing that keeps them at bay. My ghost moaned as if in pain, but I barely heard him. The events of the night before were starting to come back to me. I had skipped taking care of the dishes and dragged myself to the couch. I had been exhausted from running around all day yesterday, and from going to the grocery store twice in as many days after not going for years. I choked. The grocery store. Trader Joe's. The flashback. I had a flashback. I had sat down on the couch, closed my eyes for just one moment out of exhaustion, and passed out. Between the flashback and falling asleep for the night without taking my medicine, I must have triggered something in myself. Now it was my turn to moan in pain. I turned and curled in on myself, burying my face in my blanket. The pictures and moments that had haunted me in my dreams were coming back to follow me in my waking hours. My breathing. I couldn't control my breathing. I gasped and gulped for air. Tears stung in my eyes. I dug my fingers into my head, squeezed my eyes shut, and buried my face further into the blanket. I tried everything I could to send those images back to wherever they had come from, but it was no use. They just kept coming. They moved so quickly I couldn't even process what I was supposed to be seeing. All I knew was that they wouldn't stop. Breathe. A voice I didn't recognize broke through the images for a moment and disappeared again. I can't, I insisted. There's nothing left in me. You can. The voice broke through again. You know what to do. I did. I did know what to do. But the act of doing it felt far too impossible right now. But somehow, some way, my fingers fumbled around until they found my phone. As I grabbed it, my thumb found its way to my home button. Miraculously, my fingerprint scanned and unlocked my phone for me. I tapped the app that was nestled in the front and center of my home screen. The startup screen for the app stayed up for what felt like far too long. My breathing continued to come in starts and gasps. My body shook from the tips of my fingers up my arms, around my whole nervous system, and all the way down to my toes. The app finally moved on from the startup screen and began automatically playing a guided breathing. I tried to follow along with the gentle voice of the woman in the recording. At first, I could only breathe in for a moment before I began to hyperventilate. But after too many times through the guided breathing to count, I had finally reached a point where I was breathing normally most of the time. As I sat up, still gasping and hiccuping occasionally, I looked back up to my ghost. He floated in front of me, completely frozen. I hadn't had a moment this bad in a very long time. Not since the last night I slept without medication. It was hard enough to stay focused without taking my medicine every night. I'd almost forgotten how much worse things could be. But the meltdown and lack of sleep weren't what was at the forefront of my mind at the moment. One image persisted in my mind long after the panic attack subsided, and even longer after my breathing returned to completely normal. "Why didn't you tell me?" I demanded, looking straight at my ghost. What do you mean?" His voice was brimming with both confusion and hope. "You know exactly what I mean," I retorted. "Why would you do something like that?" "Like what?" The hopeful tone was gone, and he was now only confused. "Like taking me back to that place." I felt tears begin to fill my eyes again, without warning me. If I wasn't careful, my breathing wouldn't be under control anymore. "Which place?" I could see his confusion was genuine. "Trader Joe's," I told him. "The other night wasn't my first time there like I thought. I've been there before. It was the last grocery store I ever went to before I stopped going grocery shopping. All right. So, how does that feel? I know this is the opener to a new chapter. But where she falls asleep on the couch and then the flashback are kind of all meant to be part of the same chapter. Did the flashback was it clear at some point that it was a flashback? Like, it's not, flashbacks aren't meant to be clear right away that that's what they are, but it was meant to kind of, I left some cues and clues in there to show that it was a flashback, but how did it seem over on your end? Because I know it's a flashback, so like, it makes sense to me, but I'm not the reader, I'm the writer. I feel like it fits. I feel like it did the thing, but we'll see. It was a lot of words. I'm gonna take a second to like hydrate and everything. Okay. See what's happening over here. Okay. Yeah, I think that's really good. So this, I just got over like, I feel like a huge kind of block in my writing. It's taken me, it's been like, I've known I've needed to write this scene for a very long time, but I haven't been able to like get it out there. So finally got it out there. So thank you for your help, guys. Definitely, I mean, as always, I tell my students this all the time. Like, it all needs workshopping. Everything needs workshopping. So this is kind of a cliffhangery thing. But it's, we're obviously the end of a scene. I'm going to start on something here to see how far I get, I think. Actually, yeah, I'm going to type a few words. Yeah, I'm going to see what I can get done here in a little bit. Okay. Okay. So she just yelled at the ghost, like, why didn't you tell me? Size 14 font. Okay. My standoff. Okay. But knock at my apartment door. We both jumped and whipped around to face the door. What's that? Who could that be? I never got visitors. Didn't think anyone even knew where I lived. Anyone? Oh, hi, Mothball. Thank you for the visit. Her little tail. Anyone in the area even knew where I lived. A few seconds later, my phone chimed. I looked down at the screen and saw a delivery notification. It was my package. My package of food storage containers. That happened fast. I hadn't expected my delivery until... Oh, hello, Sylvie. You're here too? Okay, let me make some room for you. Yeah. Hey, leave Mothball alone. Mm-hmm. Yeah, come here. There you go. In the day. Okay, this needs some workshopping, but companies dropping off packages at 6 a.m. on a Sunday. That's why I was confused. It was a few minutes after 9 when you thought it was only a little after 6. My heart sank. I had slept longer than usual 2 nights in a row now. I didn't want to set an alarm for myself, but it seemed like I would have to. I didn't want to be late for work tomorrow. Explaining to my boss that I never set alarms didn't sound like it would work out in my favor. Let's see. Okay. I think this is a good stopping point. I've gotten a lot of words written tonight. I wrote, let's see, 1636. Or like 1900. Ooh, hang on. 238. Okay, now I have to write 126 more words. I got it. I'm gonna say 2,000 words tonight. Explain to my boss that never sounds set alarms didn't sound like it would work in my favor. See, but now I've said, okay, I could do this. I can pull out 126 more words. So that means plus 26. So I need to be at 364 on this scene. Trying to shake off my frustration, I made my way over to my door. I felt a chill run down my spine as my ghost floated, as my ghost practically jumped in front of me. "What are you doing?" he asked nervously. "You don't know who's there. You never have people over. No one should know where you live." Yeah. Okay, Kat, what are you doing? I looked at him. I stared at him, eyebrows raised. "It's just a package delivery," I replied. "Look." I held up my phone with the delivery notification. My ghost relaxed and moved aside. Clearly relaxed a little and moved aside, but he was clearly still skeptical. His skepticism, I opened my apartment door and pulled my package into my front hallway. After shutting the door again, I turned back to my ghost. "See?" I said, gesturing at the box. "Just a delivery. I get these all the time. How have you never noticed?" "They don't usually arrive when you're home," he pointed out. He had a point. Most of the time when I had a package or grocery delivery, it was waiting for me when I got home from work. Okay. 412. Yeah, okay. All right, there we go. There we go. All right. Let me switch to this. Hello. Okay. So, very good writing session. Thanks for hanging out with me today. Let's find someone to raid before we fully head out of here. If anyone would like to guide the raid, we do have a Inkblots redemption for that. It's 5,000 Inkblots if anyone's earned that many yet. I don't know if we've been affiliate for long enough to have that many Inkblots. Actually, I think I see exactly who I would like to raid. Okay. Oh, did she go offline? Oop. Oh, she totally did. Okay, never mind. Ha! That's awkward. Okay. Okay, this person. Oh, this is she rated me the other night, I think, actually. Yes, she totally did. So, you know what? Let's return the favor. So, let me just hit that raid button. So, please join us for the raid if you can. This helps support other fellow streamers and is very good for just, yeah, keeping the networking going. So let's see, I'm going to hit that ad, hit that raid button, and we're going to head out of here. So thank you so much for joining me today, hanging out while I wrote. I hope you had as much fun as I did. And we will not see you guys actually until next Monday. I'm going out of town this weekend. So we will see you next Monday for something. We'll see what it is. Okay. All right. Thank you so much for hanging out. I will see you next time. Bye.